We're live.
Welcome to episode 2 of G4G Live. I have with me tonight Mr. Boomstick from Double Barrel Gaming, of course, and G4G. And I have Moxie, of course, from G4G as well. And tonight we have a special guest. We have Easy E. He's been very vocal in the community. He's on Twitter. He hangs out with us in Xbox Live. He hangs out with us here in the comment section of this very channel as well. Easy, say whatever you'd like to say about yourself and give us just a tiny little bit of who you are and what type of gamer you are.
Hey guys, yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me on. Yeah, I don't normally get to go on podcasts too much, so it's just nice to be able to be a part with the community. Yeah, I've been one of those first-time caller, long-time listeners for a lot. I've been part of it. Really been part of Xbox since the OG Xbox days. I'm a long-time gamer. I started off in ColecoVision and Atari, if anyone remembers those days. And
Sure do.
Oh, yes.
Grew up Genesis. I was a Sega guy growing up, which is kind of how I got onto Xbox, because when sadly Sega went bankrupt and we're making no more systems, I was like, well, I got to figure out where I want to do now. And then I know Xbox, the OG, had a lot of the games I was used to on Sega, so I kind of went to Xbox and kind of been with them ever since. So pretty awesome. So yeah, I love gaming and just love being a part of the community. So it's always nice, just have a voice to kind of share my opinion, however significant it is. Yeah.
Easy is a fabulous pirate. He's a pirate extraordinaire.
We have definitely used his talents as our captain on more than one occasion already. So I appreciate that. I expect that even further once the game actually comes out. And kind of like everyone here, we're all multi-console gamers. So Easy also plays on pretty much everything. So it's going to be good to get his take on some things as well. So we'll kind of get right into it a little bit here. Obviously, over the last few days on Twitter, the last week or so, there's been tons of things to talk about. One of the best things that we've had actually started with a little bit of a controversy. And Mr. Boomstick, you did a great video on this. It was the State of Decay 2 video. Tell us a little bit about that video, what happened, and get us started on this very first topic that we have here.
Well, listen, I am the first person to step up to the plate when a company does something wrong. I'll say something about the company. I don't fanboy it. I just say it like it is, right? I'm buying their product, so I'm going to give them my honest opinion. But when the State of Decay 2 price came out, literally, I could not believe the community. I mean, and not everyone, I'm not putting everybody under an umbrella. I'm saying that there was such instead of getting excited that we got a release date, we got a price point that everyone could afford. Right, you're going to have more people playing the game because it's $30, or you can Game Pass it, or you can get the $50 edition. Immediately, some of the more vocal people on Twitter and even on YouTube did not count the game as being AAA anymore. It literally lost.
It's crap.
It immediately lost all of its steam. Forget that we got a release date that we all wanted. Forget that we got an awesome, price. Forget that we have multiple ways to buy it. Nope, nothing. It was like, well, it's not AAA, it's garbage. Mm-hmm. So I thought, again, I don't like being controversial, especially with the community, because I like to be I like the idea that I'm the internet good guy, and I like being that good guy. But I felt it necessary to make my story where I literally had a guy at the edge of a building. And I put a little arrow. It says "Don't jump," and I put Xbox community. And you know what? I'm over 2,000 views on it. So what I said was the truth, and I didn't call anybody out in particular, because everyone's entitled to their opinion. But the story got a lot of traction, and it was very well. Even though it was a little controversial, the community responded well to it. And I think most people, after seeing that awesome 25-minute video from IGN, were like, yeah, you know what, the game looks fantastic. You know what, let me just back away from the edge and a couple of breaths.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I think you echoed a lot of sentiment from a lot of us here on Twitter and in the community about what you should do whenever something like this happens. Let's wait a little while. Let's see how things are going with that. Easy and Moxie, how did you feel about that when all of that was going on? The first step, the first part of this, How did you feel about it, and what are you thinking now?
Yeah, well, I know really this all started back when they first announced Game Pass is going to start having day and date new releases, be part of it. And then, of course, we saw a lot of the trolls were like, oh, all the Xbox games are worth $10 now. I'm like, really? Just because now it's $10 a month, so they figure every game is only $10 now. So it's just like, for us, kind of crazy, but it's all kind of stemmed from that where people want to say, yeah, a lot of games aren't worth it. But yeah, I felt the same way because I was like, well, it'll be a $60 game and I'm fine with it. But when I saw it 30 and then 50 for the Ultimate Edition, I was like, this is awesome. Like I said, it's good value. And I know we've gone back and forth on Twitter with people how, I mean, the price doesn't equate how good a game is. I mean, there's been $60 games, countless of them that are just garbage that we've played or seen. And there's a lot of amazing games like Hellblade. We're just talking about pre-show about how good that is, and Cuphead and all these. And then just a lot of amazing $30 titles around there, and just a lot of the remasters. I know I've been playing a lot of Shadow of the Colossus, and it's really fun. And that was, of course, based on a AAA game and PS2, but $40 title, and it's 90+ Metacritic. It's amazing. So it's just, I don't know how people get the mentality that, a game, if it's not $60, then it'll be garbage. When it's just like, and like you said, once people finally saw gameplay of it, it's like, well, this game looks amazing. It looks better than the first, and it's 4-player co-op. So it's just like,
yeah, I think most people felt that way. I saw a lot of that sentiment, but some people seem to not be that impressed, and they also seem to really have a problem with the price tag for some reason. I mean, was I the only one out there that thought that was extremely odd that we were saying charge us more money for a game and then not impressed with by
when we usually say charge us less money for a game, and we usually complain about the price of games?
Despite the fact that games have stayed roughly in the range of about $60 for about 20 years now, maybe a little more. Boom, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. We're complaining about this game being half that price for most people and $9.99 for some people that don't want to buy it.
And not only complaining about it, we're also like, we're coming up with all these narratives that come along with this. We're like, oh, well, if it's $30, then it can't be AAA. And if it can't be AAA, then it can't be good. Like, it has to be crap. Like, it's the narratives that followed the first narrative that were really bad. Like, what? The first game was awesome. The second game is like the first one. I personally didn't want a different game. I wanted the same type of gameplay, but the co-op was definitely like the co-op and then sharpening up the images. Like, that's all I could have asked for. So I wanted the same State of Decay. And I'm like, I mean, between that and Games Pass, like, didn't you think Games Pass was going to change the pricing of games? Like, if it doesn't, then everybody's just going to get a Games Pass. Nobody's ever going to buy anything.
Right. Yeah, and it gives a good incentive. It's only $30 or $50 for the Ultimate. I was like, well, this is good. And then, of course, we're about to lead into, the whole collector edition thing. Definitely, but I mean, yeah, that's how I felt. It's just, it's great value. I don't know why, sadly people complain. And like you said, I mean, the first one was amazing. It literally could have been exact same game, just bigger and 4-player co-op. And I've been happy with it. But from the look of it, it's a new engine, graphical engine looks good. It just looks like pretty much I know Dealer, shout out to him. I have the same sentiment as him. He felt the State of Decay 1 is probably one of the best zombie games.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely. I feel the same way. It's what I want in a zombie game, where it's survival, and you got zombies and it's permadeath. It just feels like a Walking Dead kind of game.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The closest thing we've had so far to a Walking Dead type game. Go ahead, Boom.
No, again, finish your point, because what I was going to say is what you don't. If you've never played the game, what you don't understand is that there is a stress that you get as a player. That if you lose that, look, I'm a victim. I did 13 hours worth of a character, and I took a chance going out at night, and I knew it. I said, you know what? I need these resources. I got a truck. I run over a couple of zombies, and I'll be back. And what happened? I lost my character. And man, I got to tell you, I don't throw controllers because they're expensive. But I literally wanted to break my controller. I'm like, you see, I want to punch myself in the face. Like, literally punch myself in the face. Like, you know what, you ass. You lost 13 hours of this character. And now I have to start from the beginning. I had my stats high. I had weapons. And now I had to go find myself to go kill myself.
I went through exactly the same thing. It was the only character I lost in that game, and I was like, I was cussing and screaming. I was like, I'm done. But there's no other game like that.
No,
like, why would you like that? Why would you want them to to change that? Why would you be sitting there looking at the price instead of looking at the fact that's what makes that game unique and amazing?
To add to your point about the price, there wasn't this game. I think we talked about this a little bit in the pre-show. Wasn't this game a Summer of Arcade indie title?
And I think it was $30. I think it was 30 or $20. I don't remember what it was, but it was not a $40 game when this came out.
Yeah, I was thinking $20, but yeah, it was around there.
A lot of people have said 20. I don't remember, but a lot of people are definitely saying.
What I think happened is that on the 360, when it was a Summer of Arcade title, it was $19.99 for digital download, and when they released the Year One edition on the Xbox One, I think they jumped the price up to $29.99 because
because they had all the expansions and stuff.
Exactly, DLC. So how do we know something like that? How are we aware that it was very much a budget price title and over delivered for what it gave? And then how do we go into thinking that this one's going to be a $60 title, 3 times the price? And how does that kind of thing happen with us in the community?
Yeah. Only thing I can think of is, of course, these, Amazon and other sites where they've had it listed for forever. And it's like just a random release date, but it has $60. So, of course, people are thinking, oh, it's $60 in full price. And then, of course, when it comes out, you're thinking, oh, it went from 60 to 30. There's something wrong. It's not going to be that good, or, something like that, which, like I said, is crazy. But I think that's probably one reason why people kind of freak out, because they see these sites have these prices and thinking, oh, it's AAA. And then, oh, it's going to be AA now. So it's going to be crap or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's one reason I can think of.
Well, I want to add to something that Moxie said just a few minutes ago, that she wouldn't want it if it didn't look like State of Decay, because it wouldn't be State of Decay. Now, I'm going to bring up a topic. I don't want to go into it because it could spiral out of control. But here's my problem. There is a ridiculous double standard. Okay, and how I'm going to bring it up is like this. Okay, now I'm a huge Crackdown fan. Like, I literally cannot wait for 3. It's probably a game that I'm going to play online like it's going out of style. I would not want Crackdown 3 to not look like Crackdown 1 and 2, right? It would not be Crackdown. The same thing with State of Decay. And you can even bring in Sea of Thieves. It's a Rare game, so Rare makes like cartoon type graphics, right? That's what they're known for. They're even though they're cartoon, they have a lot of life and love in them, right? So here's my thing. And again, this is not a Sony versus Xbox thing. This is all I'm saying is that there's a double standard at play. Why is it okay for every Sony game that's a single player narrative to look identical to the next one next to it?
Yeah.
God of War looks like Last of Us. Last of Us looks like Uncharted. Uncharted looks like Days Gone. You know what I'm saying? And
You're
it's okay.
Right.
And it's perfectly okay. Now, granted, I'm buying every one of those games, and I love that graphical style.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a double standard where, I've actually read, wow, my God, it looks like State of Decay 1. It looks like it, but the graphics are I thought looked incredible. I thought they were very detailed, and they already came forward and they said we're going to get a day one Xbox One X patch.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Again, I don't want to go too far into it, but it's that double standard that's a little annoying.
You're absolutely right about the double standard, and I definitely want to get Moxie and Easy's side on that as well. But something that was kind of funny that we mentioned on Twitter recently was, in addition to the double standard, people are cheering this idea that Sony is only giving them the single-player, story-driven, narrative-driven games, and they're not actually getting the co-op mode that we're all excited about. They're not actually getting a horde mode or a firefight or a war zone or multiplayer versus. They're not getting that stuff. It seems like we're championing that type of thing, getting only one campaign instead of getting these big, huge games that Microsoft has been delivering. We're starting to down-talk some of those games instead and act like all we want is the single player, which I think is kind of funny. What do you guys feel on that?
Yeah, like Boom took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing about Crackdown, how, Crackdown 3, people were whining that, oh, it's like the other Crackdowns. I'm like, well, I'm glad because it's Crackdown. It should be. I would be kind of thrown off if it looked like God of War or something random. I'm like, really? This isn't Crackdown. But yeah, and same thing like Fable. I mean, we love Fable, and hopefully, we'll get an announcement soon about a new Fable. But Fable, has that cartoony look, just, And it's an amazing game. So, I mean, the graphics have no bearing on how good a game is. And of course, I understand people love the mature looking games and stuff like that, but it's just kind of is what it is.
You know what just cracks me up? Like it's the same hilarious thing is like they come out with another game in a series and they're like, it's different. They like come up with something different. Like we talked last show about like Gears coming up with robots and people are pissed. They're like, how dare you put robots in Gears? But then if they put the formula together and make it exactly the same and they just come out with the next Gears or the next Crackdown or the next State of Decay, people are mad about that too. Like I don't even get what the right formula actually is because it seems like no matter what they do, like the standard constantly changes. They're like, we need new and inventive things in our existing franchises. And then they do that. And then they're like, oh no, you can't do that. You gotta leave them alone because they're existing franchises. And then they leave them alone and they're like, where's the new stuff? It's constantly like this. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I see it all the time. There's always been a double standard. It's just people want different, but then they really don't. They want it to be the same. So it's just like Uncharted, you know, people love Uncharted for what it is. So if they did something different, I'd be like, well, why did you change it? You know, like to say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So a lot of people do that. But then, of course, when some people do that, especially for Xbox games, it seems like, I know Halo 5, I mean, I love it. And I know it's probably one of, you know, consensus is probably one of the weakest campaigns, but hey, they tried something different. They're like, hey, we're going to have different people.
That's actually, I'm actually glad that you brought that up because I actually really enjoyed Halo 5's campaign. I got to play multiplayer with my best friend who lives in LA. I believe, I want to say not multiplayer, co-op campaign. I believe Moxie was there and it was me and like one other person. And we had a blast playing that game over 2 or 3 days. What is everyone's consensus here on the show today about Halo in particular? Do you guys like it? Do you agree with the people that are saying it's terrible? What do you think?
Well, you know what? I'll go first because I'm in the camp where I didn't enjoy the single player campaign. No. I actually just beat it 2 weeks ago. Literally just beat it for the first time. Here's the question.
Did you play by yourself?
Yes. I did. I did not play it co-op. I might have played it once with other people. Might have been my brother, but you know, my thing was this. I enjoy Master Chief as a character. I thought his squad was super interesting. And Buck was the only character from the other squad that I was like, yeah, I like him because we obviously know of him from ODST, right? I did not like Locke. I think he's a great actor. I just think that his character was not developed enough for the game. And my biggest problem was that I only got to use Master Chief literally a quarter of the game. Yeah. That's the one thing I didn't dig about it. So I think that's why, you know, we're not going to see a Halo 6 this year, which is sad because, you know, it's going to miss the mark. But I'd rather them take their time and get it right.
Yeah, true, exactly. And I was going to say that, yeah, because, like, I love Halo 2. That was great. And they did something similar when they had the split between story where, hey, you're Master Chief and then you're Arbiter. But it was like, I felt equal time and it worked out pretty well. But, yeah, with the Halo 5, it was like, because people love Master Chief, so it's like, hey, you got your main character, and he wasn't in it quite as much. Because me, I'm one of those, I'm kind of, I don't know, halfway about it. Like, I enjoyed Halo 5, but at the same time, compared to all the other Halos, it's one of those, you know, when you compare it to all the others in the series and you have the memory of how great 3 was and all those, yeah, it probably suffered a bit. But it's one of those, I don't know, but I think Avers, his point, you know, having the whole co-op with it, I think that's what they kind of had it set because you have a team of 4 and another team of 4, and they're really wanting people to have the co-op experience. So when you play solo, it doesn't have the same impact. But then I played it with a friend, and it just felt a lot more fun. So that could be one of those changes they're trying to make where it's, hey, we're going to have co-op for this campaign mostly. But, yeah, it's just...
I think that's one of the things people are upset that Microsoft is doing. And I'm not saying that I agree they are doing it or aren't doing it, but is, you know, Xbox clearly has a bigger kind of audience for the multiplayer parties, you know, Sea of Thieves type game. But should they put that where it's definitely more fun to play co-op? And of course, there's people, myself included, who co-op's always going to be more fun because that's just how I am. But there are things that they should be doing to make sure that these campaigns really are fun by yourself so that they're not moving Xbox completely in the direction of always needing to be multiplayer. And I'm not saying they are or aren't. I'm just taking feedback like from Twitter and everywhere else that I see it. Do you agree that they're coming up short there, or do you think that they are keeping those experiences that way and we just like the co-op because that's just how we play?
No, I actually really liked what all of the entire experience of what Halo 5 was. I really liked the new mechanics that changed the gameplay mechanics a little bit. They added a lot of new features that you can do. The clamber, the run, dash, jump, dashing in midair. There was a lot of new stuff that we haven't really seen in first-person type games, first-person shooters. So, I mean, I think they're innovating in the ways they need to. And I really think what they did that you didn't like, Boom, having Locke playable for, you said 75% of the game. In my estimation, it was closer to 50-50. But I think what they were trying to do is they're trying to call back to what Easy said in Halo 2 with the Arbiter. I think that they think people really liked that for whatever reason, and that they wanted to recreate that thing. And Star Wars kind of does the same thing. If you look at, just to talk about movies, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, Star Wars does that same thing where they have their trilogies, and each film harkens back to something that happened at the same point in time. So it's kind of similar, and people notice that and they criticize it and that type of thing. I think that they were trying to do the same thing. Gears did it with Gears 4. They're kind of harkening back to things that happened in the first Gears game with Gears 4 as it's a soft reboot of the franchise. So maybe that was a misstep. Maybe you're correct, Boom, and they shouldn't have done that. But you know, it kind of is what it is. I enjoyed it. I like the 100 gigabytes of content that they gave me. I guess I'm in the minority there.
Yeah, and I think I'll go along with that. I think that's just kind of how I'm trying to think of a good way to put that. Like you said, the mechanics. I think some of the criticisms were kind of unwarranted because a lot of people was like, "Oh, it's just like Call of Duty now," or some things like that. And to me, I thought, hey, you got to evolve eventually. You have to run. I mean, people, purist Halos from OG Xbox are like, hate that you have a run button in Halo 4 and 5. I'm like, you kind of have to evolve somehow in the gameplay, because if they did make a game just like Halo 1, Halo 2, it would have got bashed for that. It felt too old. You know, kind of we're talking about. You make changes and people hate it, but then you don't make a change and people hate it. It's just kind of like you can't please everyone. So I think it's some of those, and I do like I laughed when I read on Amazon. I remember they had some user reviews and they got so many 1-stars. And when you saw the 1-stars, the majority of them were, oh, there's no local split screen co-op. And even though they said way back they were not going to have that, or going to be one screen, but people bash it and it's like, oh, 1 star, this game sucks because there's no local split screen. It's just stuff like that where it's like, well, I know, sadly, it went like that because people only know that's how old Halos were. And I think they said Halo 6 are going to try to incorporate that again because people just loved Halo being in the living room together and playing that. So there's some criticisms were just like kind of, I thought it was unnecessary, but because, trying to make some changes because I love the gameplay. Of course, multiplayer I think is one of the best in the series. It was so much fun. And I love the model where they just had free content. They had the firefight implemented, and which is one of my favorite modes.
Yeah, that's a fantastic mode. That's great.
Yeah, so I hope they have more of that stuff. But yeah. I agree. Though maybe the whole local trying to push a co-op. I was going to have a little what if question for y'all.
Sure, go
shoot with it, bro.
Like, because I know we're sadly Scalebound got canceled. But I know one of the things for Scalebound was it was going to have 4-player co-op. It kind of makes you wonder if they didn't push that so much, it just made it a 1-player focused story. Would it have probably gotten canceled, or was that maybe one of the issues with it? Well, it got canceled eventually because they tried to put in a 4-player co-op, like we were talking about with the other games. I know that's kind of
I think that game originally was designed for 4-player co-op, so I don't think if they would have left it out that it would have come out anyway. Microsoft canceled that game because Platinum was working on other games while they were working on that game, and money was being poured into that title. So Microsoft got the short end of the stick, in regards to that. Platinum got off easy, in my opinion, because they got paid, and they got paid lovely. So Microsoft dumped all this money into that title, which I'm going to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be an amazing game. I was super stoked. And I was bummed when it got canceled. But when you hear, you never really know until it comes out. And obviously, a year later, we find out that Platinum was really just dragging their heels in the sand with this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that too. So it's just.
Xbox Chronicles in the chat says, do you think Microsoft should give Scalebound to an internal studio to finish? What do we feel about that?
You know, listen, here's the thing. They own the name of the game. They own that IP. So you know, it would be great for them to revisit this, but at the same time, it wouldn't happen now. You might see that 3 years from now because there's still a real nasty stank to it. You know what I'm saying? You know, you mentioned that, you know, you were going to do a Scalebound, people would throw up their arms like, what are you talking about? You know, right now they're trying to bring back a lot of their older IPs. You know, we heard, you know, I did a story today, Splinter Cell was leaked by accident by Amazon. You know, Perfect Dark was leaked in the beginning of the year. Fable is currently being worked on. There was rumors that you know, a MechAssault was also in development. So they're returning to a lot of their old IPs. There was also a rumor that they were teaming up with to bring a new Ninja Gaiden to the Xbox platform as an exclusive. So I mean, they're looking to take what was great about the OG Xbox, bring it forward with newer graphics. And right now I wouldn't touch Scalebound with a 10-foot pole.
True. It could be an instance where they hopefully, you know, like they did with Fable, like the rumor of Fable coming out, and I've heard things about, oh, they have Fable Legends, the assets from that. They can incorporate some of that. I don't know. It could be a thing if they have all the Scalebound stuff, not call Scalebound, but use some of the assets and try to make a new game out of it down the road or something. I don't know if they can do that, but.
You know what? I thought about that, but I remember when Scalebound was being shown at E3, I remember it was very lukewarm. The things I was hearing, people did not seem that excited about it. They seemed very skeptical. And I remember even having a conversation with Moxie. I don't know if you remember this, Moxie. Was this 3 years ago? And I was like, aren't you excited for that? It's got co-op. It's got dragons. You like dragons from Dragon Age. And I was expecting you to be all about that. And you were like, nah, I'm not that sold on it. So,
and that's how everybody felt. Like, I have to honestly say, everybody got really excited about that game after the announcement of the cancellation of that game. And a lot of people want to deny that, but that's the same, that's this changing standard bullcrap that I keep talking about that people keep doing. They're like, don't change it, do change it, don't change it, do change it. They're like, yeah, Scalebound, whatever. And then they're like, you know, you cancel it. And of course, now everybody's up in arms. Like, I don't think people were that excited about it, but there's really two ways you can redo a game if you're Microsoft. You can either take the things that were going to make that game cool, which in my case, Dragon Age Inquisition being my favorite game of all time ever, would be the dragons and that kind of universe. You can just take those, like basically what Easy said, take those assets and just put them in a totally different game and just take what was going to be cool about it. Or you can actually try to take Scalebound proper and redo it. Honestly, I don't know which one would be better, because if they take Scalebound proper and redo it, it's kind of like the idea of them taking Fable and redoing it. It's kind of like a way for them to like get those crazy fans that are always changing their minds to kind of shut up, because they're like, look, we're fixing it. We're going to give you that game that you're now claiming you really wanted all this time. We're going to give you it. It's even called Scalebound. And then they can change whatever they want and keep whatever they want the same. Or if they think that the content is actually what people were interested in, they can just take what was going to be cool, give it to another studio, make a whole new game, not call it the same thing. People will forever be like, well, they still canceled Scalebound and I'm still mad about it. But they're gonna be mad anyway. So it's like, in that case, they can just build a new game and then they just come out with a new game, but nobody's gonna be happy no matter what they do. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us into the second part of that State of Decay conversation, which Easy prefaced a little bit earlier. So the big thing that we've been going on for the last, 24 to 48 hours or so has been a little bit of a controversy, because State of Decay, over a week ago, they announced that they're doing the $29.99 disc version, and then you also have a $49.99. You can play it early Ultimate Edition of the game that comes with all the DLC, kind of like what we talked about with the original State of Decay, where they added the extra add-ons and stuff like that. So they announced that. Then we find out, was it yesterday, Boom, or was it the day before?
I think it was, it might have been yesterday. Yes, I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to start with me, and then we'll go around with everybody, and we'll start with Easy, and then Boom and Moxie. So Moxie actually sent me that. She must have been like on Twitter when the news broke. So she sent it to me in DM. I was dealing with my stuff. I start reading the article and I'm like, this is awesome. I like this stuff. I thought that the thumbnail drive was clever and funny and cute. I'm not a big fan of the still case thing because I don't have room to store the cases for games. I do all digital because of that. So that was not a big deal. But then I saw the little brain holder. So you stick the little still case in it and you can display it on one of your displays. That would go perfectly on the weekly recap type of thing.
Brain holder, weekly recap.
Yeah, so I actually like that. I don't care about the patch. I agree with everybody on the patch. And then you have the mask, which, I've heard some good points about, what are you going to do with this mask? You'd have to kind of, if you want to display it year round. He's already laughing.
Wear it, dang it.
You got two choices. You can wear the mask, which is ridiculous.
And rob a liquor store.
Yeah. Or you can buy a mannequin
head. Or do a
head
weekly recap video.
and throw it on a mannequin head and put it in your display. That might look cool, though, to me.
It might be cool.
Or Moxie can wear it when she streams the game.
Yes,
that'd be
that's
awesome.
true. That's true. But remember in Walking Dead, they'd always have those heads in like the tanks, like the governor had the heads in the tank. To me, that's kind of interesting. I could totally see it being on one of these squares back here. But I'd have to get that mannequin head, which Boom called out earlier today, to achieve that. So I was into it. I wasn't even thinking about does it have the game or not at that point. I was just like, yeah, this is cool. I'm going to buy this whenever it's available. And then later on that night, it kind of blew up and everybody got a little bit crazy about it and started to say, this is a boneheaded move. Doesn't make any sense not to have the disc. Right away, I was like, wait a second. Didn't we all pre-order it? Didn't you guys saying that you want a disc? Didn't you pre-order? We were all talking about this.
Didn't we all complain that there weren't going to be collector's editions because of Games Pass too? Sorry.
Right.
Yes.
No, you're 100% right. Absolutely.
That's part of my segment. My bad.
I had heard that very same critique and problem.
That was the DM I sent you. I was like, ha, everybody's saying we're not getting collector's editions. Look, here it is. Yeah. That was how I sent the DM.
That leads to the next part of that. So how are we outraged by this when we've all said that we wanted collectors? Usually, and I'll throw this in here so you guys can give me your piece on it, and we'll go to you here, Easy, in just a second. Usually collector's editions are very expensive. So for the AAA, big budget, blockbuster titles like Halo 5 and Gears 4, they were $250. All right, and they did come with a disc, but I'm all digital. So I bought the digital thing and I bought the collectors because I'm that hardcore about it. So I spent over $300 to achieve my perfect end result there. Then you have the Recore one, which is a AA title. So you can say, all right, it's a little different. It won't be as expensive. I think it was $170, I want to say, without discounts.
Yeah.
I got it at Best Buy. So I paid $147.99 or whatever the discount was at the time. So it wasn't so bad, but still, that's another $50 plus tax. Boom's been mentioning the tax lately on some of these things.
No, I mean, listen, you guys, I'll go into more particulars why I say, because everyone's like, $69.99. They try to treat, that 1 penny. They don't want to make it $70, but I'll go into more detail.
You want to let Easy go first?
Yeah, please. But he's the guest. Absolutely.
So yeah, he's a guest, and Easy, you have a unique perspective because you were kind of outside of the whole thing. You weren't really involved in it as far as I could tell. So what's your take on this?
So I'm probably more neutral during this because I can see both sides. So I wasn't really outraged or like, oh, this is cool kind of thing. I was just kind of taking it back and, looking it over and thinking about it. Me, the only probably issue is, and this is actually the developer, I think, came on Twitter, actually said, kind of apologize, is the name of it. Because, you have the edition word in there. You got, limited edition, collector's edition. When you have the others have a game with it, and then the collector's edition doesn't have it, and maybe kind of misleading. And they said, yeah, we should have called it something else. We apologize about that. So it's kind of like they kind of acknowledge that aspect. But to me, my idea, I think Moxie's about to bring it up too, is the whole Game Pass thing. I'm thinking it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just like, hey, you can buy everything together or you got to make one extra purchase. So it's like, what's the big deal about having that? Because, people could have Game Pass. So if they just wanted the items in the collector's edition, hey, that's a good option. And like for me, I have Best Buy Gamer Club and I have, Amazon Prime. So you get 20% discounts on those. I know Amazon no longer has 20% discounts on collector's editions. So say I wanted to get the collectors and have the game and everything. Well, I wouldn't, get a discount on there where, hey, I can get the game for cheap and be able to, get the collector's edition. Because this happened to me on Halo 5. I know it's $250 for it. I was like, oh, I want that, but that's a lot of money to spend on that. So I just got the limited edition for $100. But then I think down the road it ended up being the collector's edition got discounted to $100. I'm like, oh, that's an awesome price. Let me get that. Then I ordered it, and I'm like, oh gosh, I got another copy of the game, which I already have digitally. So I had to turn around selling on eBay. And luckily I got somebody to kind of dive into it. But I mean, like, it'd been great just, get to have that. Like, I mean, Battlefield 1 had one like that. People were complaining because, oh, there's no game included. So it's just like, I think this is kind of stems from kind of changing how we think, because we were always so used to growing up gaming that, hey, the collector's editions always have a game and has a physical. And even when Halo 5 Limited had just a digital code, people complained. I'm like, well, that stinks. I would like to have a disc for that. And I think they did have a thing where people, could trade in the code from Microsoft and get the disc or something like that. But I know a lot of people, they're so used to how things have been done. And this could be, how gaming industry is kind of changing a bit with collector's editions. To me, I think like Sea of Thieves doesn't have a collector's edition, but they have these cool things. They have like a book you can get and some cool little trinkets they have that you can kind of buy separately.
Separately, yes.
Yeah, I think this is kind of how like collector's editions could be. And I think if they just named it differently, like, I mean, we all have heard of Loot Crate. I know they've had like Gears of War 4. Remember when that came out, they had a cool edition, special edition Loot Crate you got for $100. It had a lot of cool gear, exclusive and stuff like that. Stuff like that's cool, and I think that probably been something that State of Decay could have done. I think like this is really probably just a naming thing. When people hear collector's edition, they're thinking, "Oh, okay, it's everything and the game." But when it doesn't have the game, they're freaking out. I'm like, "Well, it doesn't have no game." But I'm thinking, if you look at the price and being only $80, that would mean if it had the game with it, it's potentially only $20 or $40 worth of stuff in the thing.
Yes.
So if they had the game with it, it would have easily been $100 or more, and that would have turned people off and be like, "Oh, I don't want to spend $100 on a game I can get on Game Pass,"
Yeah, and I just want to add something to what you were saying. Typically, when they add the disc into it, and you have all that other stuff, we referenced how expensive the other collectors packs have been. They don't add $30. That's not what happens. They usually add $50 or $60, and it doesn't matter kind of what level it is. Like with Recore, that was a AA title, and it was still $170. The way I'm looking at this, with giving you an a la carte type of option, a mix and match, get your perfect situation option here, they're basically saving you $70. That's what I'm seeing. Am I the crazy one here, Easy, or anyone?
I agree. It's like I said, it's just kind of how people are used to stuff. I don't think you're crazy at all, because I mean, if that's the only way you can get it, then yeah, they'll probably raise the price. And like I said earlier, with like the Halo 5 one, it'll be expensive, but most people can just wait to kind of, get it, because a lot of times they'll, discount. But the only thing I ever got that I'm glad I did was that Fallout 4, the Pip-Boy edition.
Yes.
Because I know those things are going to go.
That was awesome.
I have no shame. I bought that. I'm like, and of course I had a Windows phone back then. So I'm like, I can't even use the stinking thing because it's not compatible. So I just flipped it on eBay and got double my money's worth. I'm like, I ain't gonna lie. So something like that, that's good. But most generally, collector's editions, they discount pretty well. They have a hard time selling them because, I mean, they're so expensive and having the game and everything. And down the road, people don't want to, spend all that and have the game included. So I think it'd be a better sell, especially now with Game Pass, get to play the game and like, hey, I want everything in there. But hey, I just want to get the game on Game Pass or discount it through a store. And like I said, it's just like an a la carte mode. It gives you options for that. So only kind of issue with gamers, obviously, is, oh gosh, you have to buy two things instead of one. Got to buy the game however you want, and then the collector's edition. So that's kind of neutral. Now I think just the naming thing was the big thing that kind of threw people off. I saw, and they even apologized for that. So they even acknowledged, hey, yes, we kind of maybe threw people off with the naming. But to me, I thought, hey, why would you complain? Like I said, Xbox has been about options lately, so that's just another option. If you want the collector's edition, hey, feel free to get it. But then you can get the game, limited or base game or Game Pass or just however. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. So have Boom or Moxie go.
Boom, do you want to go next?
Well, look, I'm going to take it from a different angle, okay?
Yes.
Because I was going back and forth with Worry Wart, because when he first saw it, he freaked out. He's like, I want to get this. And I was right there with him. I saw it. I'm like, yes. Okay, I'm buying the fit. You know what? I don't mind having the disc. I'm a digital guy. I'm running 13 terabytes on my Xbox One X. But I'm like, you know what? I don't mind the disc. I'm going to buy this collector's edition. $75 after tax. No problem. I just bought every collector's edition. My shelves are packed with collector's editions. Okay? And I've said it before. I love them. And then I saw a tweet from Noof. Big shout out to him, Noof Nukem. And he's like, it doesn't come with the game. And I'm like, could you confirm that? And it didn't come with the game. And I was like, well, wait a second now. Hold on. I understand that the people are going to Game Pass this. The game's a $30 game, right? I'm not saying it's a budget title. I'm saying it's $30. I would have no problem paying $45 for the stuff that's included in that so-called collector's edition. I'm like, okay, $45 for a rubber mask. I could probably get it at the dollar store during Halloween. No problem. The thumb drive, which is 4 gigs. Do I really need a thumb drive that's a thumb? But you know what? I'll hang it with my other Walking Dead stuff, right? Okay. And the brain and the collector's case, if the game is in there, I'll display it. But then when you're telling me I'm spending $75 on that stuff, I immediately remove myself from the conversation because I don't think it's worth it. You don't get the season pass. As far as I know, you don't get any digital items. You're getting just the rubber mask, a squishy brain to put your tin box in, and a thumb drive. And wait, this is the highlight. This is the gem of this collector's edition, an ion patch, which I got to be honest with you. I used to do iron-on patches when I was like 6, and I got it from Cracker Jacks. I didn't expect that to be in the collector's edition. If you want to give me a patch like they do in Gears or in Titanfall, where it's a patch if I wanted to sew it onto my leather jacket so I could be a nerd, you know what I'm saying? That's fine. I just look, like I said, if people are going to get it, thumbs up. I hope that you enjoy it. Me personally, the minute they took the game out of it, I took myself out of that conversation.
Well, so I have a conversation. I have a question for you, Boom.
Sure, absolutely.
So, do you have Game Pass, and are you getting Game Pass in the future?
I have Game Pass. I have 6 months of it right now. It's paid up for. I got a couple of 3-month codes that I picked up on eBay for $16 each.
Good deal.
So I paid $36 for 6 months of Game Pass, and I'm just going to up it every month until I'm paid up until the cows come home. So I would have, like I said, I do everything digital. So I wouldn't have, but if for instance, this collector's editions, like most of them, come with the disc, I would have been okay with that. But I thought that because we're all moving into a digital kind of a world, they would have at least included the $30 one, not the $50 one.
Yeah, I hear you. But the thing is, I've heard you say that had it had the disc with it, you would buy it. So my question there is, you have it on Game Pass. You're going to be playing it digitally. It's much better than getting up and putting the disc in the box.
Absolutely.
How does that explain to me how that makes sense to me? How does it make sense?
Well, how it makes sense is that if I'm getting the game, the disc game, a $30 game, and I'm paying $45 for that so-called collector's edition with the stuff that they include, that's not a problem. It's when I'm paying $70 or $75 after tax for what's in that collector's edition. You can pick up a thumb drive, a real thumb drive, not someone's thumb, but you could pick up a thumb drive for like $6 for a 4 gig, thumb drive. You get a good sale on Amazon at $7. That mask, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think you're going to be, showing up at the Walking Dead casting couch to get on one of their shows with that mask. So it's not like it's the most professional thing I've ever seen, and it's probably not the greatest of quality. It looks cheap. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, I'm all hyped for the game. I cannot wait for it. But that collector's edition is not worth $75, especially that it's not including the game, and you're not getting any other digital items. Like, I can't believe that there's no added, season pass or something in there to warrant that kind of a price tag. But again, that's just my personal opinion.
You're saying that that's a high price tag.
I do.
I'm saying, look at the previous price tags that they've been tagging on to some of those things. $250, $170. Yeah. There's been other ones that had no disc, like Battlefield 1, that were even more.
Yes. And you know what? My counterpoint to that is that those collector's editions that were $250, I have both of them sitting 10 feet away from me, and those were the Titanfall collector's edition, where it came with a robot that was 2 feet tall, that lit up, and it came with a wearable helmet that lit up, and it came with a display. So my big thing is that it comes with nothing. Like, if you wanted to put that mask on a mannequin head, you got to go out and buy a separate mannequin head for like $15. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, look, listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. Anyone's wrong for wanting it. I think it is a cool looking, collector's edition. I just don't think that it's worth the money.
I hear your arguments, and your arguments are definitely well put. Here's the arguments that we saw basically boil to the surface. I think it was late last night. Basically, it came out from a couple of people that we were going back and forth with that they were upset, essentially, that they're having to do a couple of extra clicks on their touchscreen phone. They're upset that they have to buy the $30 disc and then the collector's edition. That's what they ended up saying. Those are not my words.
I believe you. I believe you, and it's silly. That's silly. I got to be honest. If you're complaining about having to click Amazon twice or 3 times, I got to be honest. I mean, now we've crossed the line.
Yeah, that was most of my point. I'm like, that's the only big concern was, I have to buy 2 things instead of 1. So it's just,
But okay, go ahead, Moxie. You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that allows you to have those options that we talked about. For me, it allows me to play the game 4 days early. So by the time other people are waiting for their thing to come in the mail, I'm going to have 5 days on them at that point in time. I think that's a huge benefit. Plus, like you said, Game Pass as well. They're thinking about everybody. How do we do this for everybody? Whoever made the final judgment call on taking the disc out, that's what they were trying to do. Their intentions were well. The price to me is very cheap by comparison to what I've spent. But go ahead, Moxie.
So there's a couple of things that personally I try to leave out of my thoughts about collector's editions because they vary too much. One of them, I mean, obviously in making the personal decision of am I going to buy it or not, of course I factor these 2 things in. But in people tweeting about Microsoft messing up, which is ultimately, if you've been watching me on Twitter over the last 2 days, I've been in a lot of conversations of people being like, how can Microsoft mess up a collector's edition? Like they're mad at Microsoft as opposed to just being like, I don't like this. Here's the 2 things I don't judge for that. One of them is cost because collector's edition games can seriously run from $50 to $300. So you can't really look at it. I mean, you can look at it from a personal purchase standpoint like Boom did and go, I don't think those items to me are worth that price. Right. But there are some dang expensive collector's editions out there. And depending on your tastes, a $350 one might have been worth it to you at some point in time. And a $50 one might not have. So I leave that out of it. And then I leave out the judgment of what actually comes in it. Again, not if I'm going to decide whether or not to buy it, but if I'm going to talk about it being a good or bad move, I leave that out as well because the game developer works with, Microsoft or the publisher to decide what would be, kind of in my own way of thinking of it, what would be a cute thing to send out with this kind of game. And that, again, that's ultimately, they send out whatever they think accompanies the game. And personal taste will say, I loved the Halo 5 Collector's Edition with the really cool statues that I have on my fireplace, but not so much maybe the zombie head. That's not for me. The people who are upset about it, here's the couple of things that I would say to them. First of all, you cannot expect that Games Pass comes out with all the support that Microsoft is putting behind Games Pass. You cannot expect collector's editions to not change. And in fact, keep in mind, a lot of these people have been tweeting and podcasting and commenting that we're not even going to get collector's editions. People have been saying for months, well, there goes our collector's editions because Microsoft decided they're going to go pursue this Games Pass thing. People were pissed about Games Pass because they thought they wouldn't get collector's editions. So then a collector's edition comes out, you would think those people would be like, whoa, cool, we were wrong. There's the collector's edition. And instead they're like, well, where's the game? I get what people are saying. Maybe they shouldn't call it collector's edition since that means edition of a game. Maybe they could call it something else, but that's all splitting hairs. Like they came out with something different and unique because they have to accommodate their own current strategy. They have to factor in a lot of their people have Game Pass. You want to talk about a ripoff, a collector's edition without a game is not a ripoff. A collector's edition where you're forced to buy the game when Microsoft told you that you ought to have Game Pass to get that game, that is a ripoff. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like that gives you the option. You can still buy the physical copy of the game you would have gotten in the collector's edition with an extra click of a button. The people that are mad about that are just mad that like they can't, they're literally mad that there's not a button that says with game, without game. And what you got to keep in mind is that's a lot more expensive for Microsoft to do it that way than for you to just add 2 separate items to your cart in Amazon and then pay for them. Like for them to have a box that includes the actual disc really cuts into the profit margin on the collector's edition, which goes to the dev, which goes to State of Decay 3, which I would much rather have than, you know, having some stupid, you know, include my game in my box button. I would rather have State of Decay 3. And that's ultimately, honestly, that's what the decision actually is. Yes. So if you have to click an extra button to get the physical copy of the game, you can do that. You can get your early access, and so be it. You just can't get it in the same order. But I think it's way cooler to be able to get the game or not, so that you can decide, I like all my games digital. I don't want the physical one. I have Games Pass because Microsoft told me I should buy that. So I don't want a game at all because I already have it. Whatever the case is, they're giving you the collector's edition without forcing you to buy the game. A lot more people would get screwed over by having to buy the game than not. As far as the price, I think the price is fair when you align it against other collector's editions that do have the game that are quite a bit more. But again, that's all personal judgment in whether it's worth it to you for the items that are in it, in your opinion. But that's not something you can like go slander Microsoft on Twitter for. That's just a decision each person has to make. I don't care for the zombie head, or I do. But you can't be like, oh, this is just a complete price gouge, because some people might think that stuff is really cool.
Yeah. And Jesse Darby in the chat has a question. And I believe he wanted a shout out from, I want to say it was you, Moxie. So I'll let you do that in a minute. But so now my question is, with the Game Pass in their games going in your day one, are they going to start doing collector's edition this way? Do we think they're going to continue to do this? I personally think they probably won't do this again because of the outrage, which has been referred to online as fake outrage. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's kind of going along my point where I figured, yeah, that's why people had to complain about this, because it's called collector's edition and they're so used to the past having collector's editions being that. But I mean, that could be, you know, maybe the change of the gaming industry. I don't know if they'll do it again, like you said, because of backlash. And it just takes something like that happening where they're like, well, we tried it, it failed. We'll, and of course, we'll have to wait and see how that actually sells.
Right. Yes, I was going to say that.
Yeah, it'll take a while. We can't judge now. It's just from outrage. People may end up buying it in droves, and they're like, well, that was a success. We like it that way. So, like I said, it was always a wait and see game. But I can kind of see it changing. Like I said, with Game Pass being a thing, that was kind of my idea is, okay, they can do that. If anything, they can like throw in a month code for Game Pass and the collector's editions to kind of, you know, I think that would kind of help slightly where, hey, you can actually have the game included. It's just in Game Pass and not straight out. But
what do you think?
Actually, no, I mean, I think that I've seen a lot of people that are for it just as much as I've seen people against it. So I don't necessarily think that the entire community is giving Microsoft the finger or the thumb. Pun intended. But I think that, you know, if it does sell well, then they might have a new way of doing collector's editions. I'm going to be honest with you. I was extremely disappointed that we didn't have a Sea of Thieves one with a statue of one of those skeletons, you know, standing over a chest or something. Because like I said, I like the statues, which is one of the reasons why I love Sony's collector's editions, because they always come, they're pricey. You're going to pay $130, you know, whatever. But the statue that comes with it is just phenomenal. So I was, you know, I understand there's a lot of swig. Like if you look to my left, I have my State of Decay controller. I wouldn't buy the 2 terabyte drive because I really don't need it. You know, who's going to see it where I have my my drives. But you know, I understand the ideology of them, you know, having swag for people to buy. I know that you know, Aaron Greenberg was big on that. He goes, no, we're not going to have a collector's edition, but you can buy all this swag if you want. And that's great because you can kind of pick what you want. Maybe you want the eye patch, or maybe you want this and you don't want the other thing. I totally get that. But I in regards to State of Decay 2's collector's edition, I think it's gonna do semi well, where that we may see another collector's edition. I'll tell you right now, I'm hoping for a Crackdown 3 collector's edition that comes with the agent on the statue. I mean, I would definitely buy that in a second.
Yes, same here. We have several great comments in a row here, so I'm just going to read these off. Xbox Chronicle says, Just wait until Sony adopts this model. People will applaud it.
Yes, and that's
Yes,
right.
that's a good point.
Yeah, and then Lady Fox are right underneath them. Gears 4 had the Ultimate Edition in the custom console and collector's edition, and it had early access. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when Boom was talking about the Gears of 4. That was like an awesome collector's edition. So yeah, that was.
It definitely was. And then right underneath that, Eric the Red. But everybody wants everything. They want it now. E3 needs to happen right now. Where's my Sea of Thieves controller edition pirate ship 1X console with working cannon? So he's obviously being facetious here, but he's right. People are complaining about every little bit of information that is coming out right now, no matter what it is. It's not good enough, no matter how big it is. We're throwing out collector's edition. That's not good enough. Where's my collector's console? You keep hearing that on every podcast, on every show, every week now. People are saying they need to do this. They need to do that. As soon as they throw us a bone and they do one of the things that we say, we complain about it. So what are they supposed to do then? Where do they go? Where do they go from here? Moxie, what's your take on all that?
Well, classic example of what you just said, ironically, we mentioned earlier, is Scalebound. So people are absolutely livid right now at this very moment in time that we're not getting new game announcements constantly. We're not getting game announcements because people were so mad that Scalebound got canceled, and everybody, you know what everybody said? Well, why was it announced so far in advance if you didn't know whether or not it was going to come through? Don't do that. Don't announce things so far in advance if you can't come through. So what did they do? They locked down and stopped announcing so far in advance. Last E3, they said, these are games that are coming out soon because that's what our audience is telling us, is they don't want their hopes getting up for 5 years. They just want to know what's coming soon. Now people are absolutely pissed that they aren't announcing things way out in advance, and they're actually wondering why. You know, it's like they could have come out with a collector's edition for Sea of Thieves instead of State of Decay, and people would be like, where's the State of Decay collector's edition? Where's the zombie head? And instead, you know, they did come out with State of Decay, so people are mad about the fact that there's not a Sea of Thieves one, and they never have done everything. No company is doing a collector's edition with every game, and people are going to be mad no matter what. Somebody in the chat was saying it's gone by a long time ago, so sorry. But it's like somebody was saying that it's damage controls to say that this is the right move on Microsoft's part, that I'm damage controlling for Microsoft. But here's the thing. If you make a collector's edition and you put the disc in it and you're like, all right, here's the $99.99 collector's edition with the game in it, you literally force those people who do have the game through other means, you have to buy the game. If you want the collector's items, you have to buy the game. You don't get a choice. If you don't put it in there, then you're literally fitting into your own newer business plan of having Games Pass, digital downloads. You're allowing the fact that somebody might have another way of getting hold of that game. So you're giving an option. You can pay $99.99 and get the game, or you can not pay the $99.99 and not get the game because you have it some other way that Microsoft is offering the game. Like, that's not damage control. That's just logic.
Yes, absolutely. And we all have Game Pass here, right?
Yes.
So we all have the ability to play it that way. So, you know, I'm not going to reiterate everything I've said. We've kind of said everything needs to be said about that. But Moxie brings up some good information there that leads into kind of the next topic, which is a very interesting one in the situation that we have kind of going on with the YouTubers and with the people on Twitter and everything that's happening. So we've had some interesting things come out recently from some of the execs like Phil Spencer and others. I'm not going to mention too many names here because some of it is a little bit sensitive. But, you know, one exec in particular said that he was going to start blocking people for doing certain things. And it kind of ties into the sensitivity issue that's going on right now. We're seeing people get very, very sensitive about certain things. Some of the people that have been talking about it in the past few weeks are actually ultra sensitive about these things that we're actually seeing that Microsoft is doing right now, such as what Moxie just brought up and what I said about everyone getting upset that they didn't give us this option for it and they didn't give us that. Everyone's flying off the handle for everything. Is sensitivity getting to a boiling point to where it is actually starting to affect the games that we are getting? And furthermore, is it affecting the content that is coming in through these games? We heard about Sony. They basically blacklisted a certain developer and won't release their game. Dead or Alive Extreme 3, I said it before in Weekly Recap, it's not coming out here in North America. You have to import it if you want to play it. Is this getting worse? Is everything getting to a boiling point? Easy, you go first. What do you think about that?
Right. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. I'll probably have to think more of when, Boom and them talk. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it is affecting just look at society around us and just how things have been the last year or two. It's almost so silly to say that we aren't sensitive to stuff. And it's just, like I said, in games, I know we've talked about, the whole controversy with Detroit Become Human on PS4 and the stuff about domestic abuse, and people were wondering about that. And I've seen some people in the community mention, like, Xbox, we were worried, like, we may not get any good mature games like that, or just, violence, because, you hear about how bad things are in the media. And, of course, we've just recently going through the whole thing of the government blaming video games is causing people to, do these shootings and all this horrible stuff. And just,
yes,
so we may have that, that'll definitely be affected. And like, oh, we don't want to, present a bad image. So we'll start developing games that are nicer, like we'll get Super Lucky's Tale 2.
You're right.
Opposed to Rise 2, stuff like that.
Because Rise 2 is a little bloody, right? You're chopping off heads, you're chopping off limbs, dismemberment, stabbing spikes through the people. Some of the stuff that we can see very easily on The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or any of these other things. Yes. But in video games, apparently, we just can't handle that type of thing.
It's okay for movies to do anything they want in TV, but not video games, apparently.
Yeah, and Boom, do you want to go next on that?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't want to go too much into it. The sensitivity, I think, is something that is very, very available on Twitter. I think that people are really easy to voice their, whether it's a positive or negative opinion about a particular subject. I don't think that we're not going to get a Rise 2. As a matter of fact, Rise 2, I'm predicting is going to be unveiled at E3.
You think so, really?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And again, I don't have any inside source. I didn't call up Phil and have, a latte or anything. But, it's, I have full faith that we're going to get a Rise 2. I really do. I think the story was
amazing,
fantastic. I think that, listen, I did video on it, and it's a story that I did when I first started my channel. I actually had people asking me what game was that, because the graphics looked like something that you'd find on the Xbox One X. I'm like, no, that's a launch title. So could you just imagine if they used the power of the X to its advantage? It looked really like a movie. But getting back to the violent thing, I mean, I know that there was some talk. For some reason I cannot remember the name's game. The game about mental illness that was $30 that came out on Sony.
Hellblade.
Hellblade. Yes. Okay. There was listen, and again, I don't know who started this. There was a real nasty rumor running around all over the internet that Microsoft said no because the game, focused on mental illness, and that they didn't want to subject their fans to that, which was really a total, a load of bull.
You're absolutely right. It was not true.
It's the game's coming out now. Again, it hasn't been Ninja Theory has not officially announced it, but it's been rated in several different countries. So it's only a matter of time before they come out and say, yeah, it's coming out on Xbox on this day. So I don't think that the sensitivity on the internet, or even the president blaming, video games for violence, which is, and I just, my counterpoint to the violent thing is this. First of all, I'm not going to go into, too much detail because it's a boring as all age subject, but other countries have violent video games, and the shooting issue that we're dealing with is only here in the United States. Okay. Yes, you do have terrible incidents in other countries. There's been several terrorist situations, but that's not video game related violence. We're talking about shooting up schools and killing, mass shootings. That's a thing here in this country. That's the problem. The gun violence is because guns are too available to people who don't get background checks. But that, again, I don't want to go too much into detail because it was, again, we 3 hours on that subject. But you can't blame video games for someone shooting up a school. I think that is a cop-out. I think it is as a weak way of just making someone the scapegoat.
Exactly. And the counterpoint to that, too, for me, I also think video games help with that kind of stuff. Like, to me, if I'm mad at something, I will go on a video game and take out my anger on a fictional character, shoot up and fight on there. Just like I can't stand going to work sometimes. I'm morning traffic. I'm like, I wish I could do like Forza, slam into the car in front of me, and then just rewind, do it again. But I'll get home. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to slam into this car because I'm irritated. But I won't do that in real life. I'll do that in a video game. To me, video games is a good escape from reality and a good way to take anger issues out on a fictional character, not the other way around. Where these games are making me violent and also a lot of those violent games are rated M for mature. They're not meant for kids. So it's like a kid sneaking into R-rated theater and seeing nudity. I'm like, how dare they have nudity in front of those kids? I'm like, they weren't making it for the kids. They're, it's mature for a reason, but they just happen to see it. So it's just like what working games do. I mean, that's probably back in the day before they had a rating system. I figured that was an issue way back then. Just like, music. I remember, I think it was Two Live Crew back in the day, all these suggested lyrics, and they're like, oh, we might have a rating system for music. I figured that's why the gaming did that, because, hey, that kind of solved that. But so now it's kind of like weird to complain, that 8-year-old is violent because he's playing Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm like,
well, parents just need to be parents. Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry. I mean, you don't walk into a GameStop and buy little Jimmy who's 10 years old Grand Theft Auto 5. If you do, well, maybe your parenting skills are not as up to par. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. People like to blame everything else but the parents or the kids themselves. It's always society's fault, or just, like I said, don't get too much into it. It's just, like I said, it's crazy. It's just there's so many scapegoats. And I mean, I'll go into Facebook and see a freaking video of a puppy. I'm like, oh, how adorable that is. And the top comment is someone complaining, like, I can't believe they're doing that to the puppy. It's abusing or something weird. Yeah. I'm like, my goodness. A lot of times I'm like, are they trolling, or are these people really triggered and offended? So that's like, society is just like that now. You can't even have a picture, something innocent like that without someone complaining. So yeah.
You're right. And you know what? Something I just want to say is, I don't do that that fake concern thing that you see people saying, I'm concerned for this and I'm concerned for that. You see it all the time, usually by a lot of the gaming sites. They do that whenever they're concerned for a game that they haven't heard about in the last 4 weeks or whatever it is. But you see that. I actually am a little bit concerned about this, because I do think it's going to affect the type of games that we get. Like someone mentioned, I believe it was Easy, Super Lucky's Tale 2 instead of the other ones. Not that there's anything wrong with Super Lucky's Tale 2, but I think all of us probably agree with this, that like Gears of War, the bloodiness, some of the crazy things that can happen. Some people even said that was too cartoony. I don't agree with that, because you can actually ridiculous. You can stick, what is it? I think the drop shot or one of those weapons into the back of a human character's head, angle them up, fire it, and their body flies off into the distance. So it's not cartoony in my opinion. But I think we do want to see those types of games further in the future. I hope that this really doesn't start to affect what we're getting. And I think it's also interesting that the live chat has been awesome. Again, second show in a row. Hard to keep up with. Again, it's flying by. Great comments. I want to read them all. But I think it's interesting that they added the ability to see that live chat in future shows. So I think people are going to start being a little bit more careful about some of the things they say because of some of the sensitivity, calling back to the exec that said he's going to block people for putting caps out there, essentially, or speaking in caps. Did you speak on this, Moxie? And what do you have to say?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll give just sort of a preface, and I think we're headed into a topic that has more info on this, but I'll let you kind of determine that. So there's been like a lot of, we talked last podcast about the speech at the DICE Summit, and that kind of took us into a conversation about this increase in sensitivity in the gaming realm. And, I think we can all kind of agree that this isn't where we want to see that. We want our gaming experience to sort of be removed from the rest of our culture and our lives and our experiences. And we want that to be kind of immune to all these things. And, this week on Twitter, if you were paying attention, there were a lot of conversations that happened on Twitter this week with like Xbox execs and, going back and forth with fans and things like that. There was a lot of interesting content there, but there was a very apparent change that has happened, whether it's because of that DICE keynote or whether it's because of something else, where like there is an increase in people being concerned about that. Like, one of the execs tweeted that if you use all caps, you'll be unfollowed. And like, there was a lot of other things that happened, and it's a real thing. Like we said a week or so ago, we were tagged in something that wound up being one of those really negative things about State of Decay, of which there's been 1,000 negative threads about State of Decay, and it's crazy, but we ended up being tagged in it. And the thread just like completely went off the rails, and it went down a really negative path that, you know, personally, I'm excited for everything State of Decay. I wouldn't have gone that route. And it's, you know, it opens up the question of like, how do we be more careful? How do we not end up in a situation where somebody might glance from afar and think that we're associated with something that's not okay, you know?
Yeah, I noticed on one of those same threads, we'll move along to the next thing here in a second, but I noticed on one of those same threads, a lot of people were saying, you know, so-and-so used to follow me and he stopped. And I saw like 4 or 5 notable people say, yeah, he used to follow me too, and for whatever reason, he stopped following me. So I think that is kind of interesting. We do kind of have to watch what we say there. It's sad that that's the world we live in now, where we have to, you know, really curtail our free speech and be careful. But it is the way everything is kind of going. It is the
direction that we're headed, for sure.
Yeah, and we kind of don't really have a say in that. Now, so on to the next topic, inside Xbox. So this was a hotly debated one as well. I think Boom has a really good take on this, and I think Boom, actually, you speak for a great many people, and I would venture to say, you can tell me if this is right, Boom, that you probably speak for the majority of people. I'd say 60-70% of people kind of feel what you feel, maybe even more than that. Do you want to take it away on Inside Xbox? You know, what you thought about it. All of us are going to speak on our expectations before the show, what they ended up liking about it, if you liked anything at all, and what they wanted to see that wasn't there. So go ahead, Boom.
Okay, well, here's the thing. You know, they have something. They have a weekly. Major Nelson has a weekly thing on Xbox, right? Which is the weekly show, which gives it's 7 or 9 minutes, and he talks about new things coming out and, you know, new games that are available to download. And unfortunately, I got very excited for this because I said, wait a second, this is on the heels of a Nintendo Direct, which was fantastic. And Nintendo, listen, I mean, that last megaton bomb that they dropped with Smash Brothers, I watched some of the reaction videos, and again, some of them are outrageous, but these are fans. They're fans. They're getting excited. They're screaming because they love Smash Brothers, right? So I hear this show coming out, and I'm like, okay, wait a second. They're revisiting, because this is like a reboot of the old show that was available on the Xbox 360. So I had some expectations, and they were not met. And what I basically mean is this: it was a 2-hour show, and it felt just like a very long version of what Major Nelson already does. Now, I'm very excited and happy to see Sea of Thieves get the spotlight it deserves, but I didn't think it was necessary to bring it up 5 different occasions. I think that everything that they showed us, we kind of knew already. And when this thing was originally being, rallied around by the Xbox executives and the Xbox community, I know I'm not crazy when they said they were going to have, new reveals and behind the scenes, which we got with the Sea of Thieves. But being that this was an opportunity where the world was watching, right? Everyone, even people that were Sony fans that may own an Xbox, were like, wait a second, this is an Xbox show, and they're really putting, it looks like they're really digging their heels in the sand here. They're going to show us something. I expected no less than at least the Crackdown 3 release date. Like, I thought this was a golden opportunity for them to be like, hey, we don't have any gameplay for you today, but the release date is this, and you'll be able to play it, a demo's coming, or, a demo's available now, something to get the fan base excited. Now, I understand that they really want to put the emphasis on State of Decay, which comes out in, a couple of less than a week, so, I get that, but I just thought that for what they gave us, it felt like it was missing something. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, before we go to easy, so I just want to know, so 2 questions. Where did you get the idea that they were going to announce Crackdown 3? And secondly, connected to that, they just announced the date for Sea of Thieves a few months back, 3 months back, I believe. Then they announced the date for State of Decay 2.
Right.
So Crackdown is obviously not coming before E3. No question about it. It's not. So don't you think they kind of want to drop that bomb at E3? And don't you want to allow Phil or whoever's going to come out on stage and say that? Don't you want to give them that leeway and say, yeah, give them.
You know what? The thing is this. They're bringing this new monthly show. Okay, this is the premiere. Okay, my problem is this isn't just something we're used to. Like, okay, it's just another, Inside Xbox, whatever. This was a reboot and a premiere. So everyone was watching. The media was watching. The fans were watching. People who don't like the Xbox were watching. And it just had in my opinion, a missed opportunity to get Crackdown out there for the people that forgot about it. I understand E3 is coming, but let's understand E3, it shouldn't be for Crackdown. E3 should be for everything that we don't know that they have coming out, because we saw Crackdown for 3 years already. So I don't personally think giving the fans a release date and the possibility of a demo on X date would have been such a bad thing. Again, I don't think that we need to see Crackdown at E3 for the 4th year in a row. But again, that's just my opinion. I think that they had a golden opportunity to really just grab the fan base and be like, here you go. You gotta Sea of Thieves is next week. State of Decay is in May. And whenever they're gonna release Crackdown, here you go. There's your 3 games. Get excited. Be happy you're an Xbox fan. And I just thought the show really dragged. But again,
it was long. It was an hour and 51 minutes, if I'm correct.
It was long.
If you subtract the 5-minute countdown that's in there for whatever reason.
Yes.
So Easy, we'll go to you next. But you also had something you're going to throw in there. So remember that about. I think you did a post about Crackdown being delayed and another game being delayed. Days Gone, I believe it was. But start with your expectations before Inside Xbox, what you thought it was going to be, what you liked, if anything, and what you wanted to see that wasn't there. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably slightly more positive than Boom. And it really is one of those, I had 0 expectations going in also. So it's kind of like, it's hard to be disappointed when you don't have any expectations. So I told, I saw someone had like a rating system. I was like, for what it was, I actually gave like a B-, because I was like going in, I'm like, okay, what is this about? How are they going to do it? I know it's supposed to be like a rebirth, so to speak, of Inside Xbox, the old show, which I don't remember what it was about. So I'm like, I don't know what to expect either. But I was like, okay, this is cool. They're more in depth, because what it reminded me of was like when you have the E3 shows and like after the presentations, when they have the daily show every day at E3 week, and they're like 2 hours plus. It felt just like that, where let's have detailed interviews, maybe like a random kind of just video about a new game or something like that. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And me being a musician, I'm like, hey, the whole Sea of Thieves music thing was kind of cool. But at the same time, I'm thinking, is there anyone really going to care about this stuff? This is all, they're getting so detailed on things that are, it's kind of neat, but no one probably asked for or cared about. But I think as it went on, I like the show, but as Boom said, it's kind of one of those, it's the first show you have of it. So expectations are high, and you don't want to go big at the first one. And then I can see people get disappointed, especially like I said, Nintendo Direct and stuff. But at the same time, I was kind of my point on that is I think that's the thing people are expecting is like a timing issue. They probably were never wanting it to be that or meant for it to be. But when you had the Nintendo Direct like that, it's kind of like, oh gosh, we got to answer it. But I'm like, how are you going to answer Smash Brothers if they had oh, Halo 6 release date, which you'll never do, but something random like that, it would be it can end up being oh, that's cool, but it'd be kind of hard to compete with, Smash Brothers. It could have been a thing of, well, we'll wait till next month since it's a monthly show. There's no reason trying to compete, with Smash Brothers. Yeah. My little side note, we've talked about this before to others because, hey, we get the PSX and Sony does their shows and Nintendo Direct does, I guess, every other month. But there's also been bad shows they've done.
Yeah, sure.
We talked about PSX, how oh God, that was bad. And there was people even saying, does Sony do too many shows? It's kind of like you're thinking there's maybe not enough content to have all these big conferences. And Xbox was thinking, oh, we need to have more content every month. I'm like, definitely it'll be impossible to do it for a monthly show. So that's why I think if this were like a Gamescom, I know we saw that, we're like, yeah, this wasn't near that good. I would be like, oh, this is horrible if it's like a once a year thing like that. But I'm like, it's a monthly thing, so I'm like, it's fine for what it was. But I do think the missed opportunity is just like not even Crackdown, like Boom was saying. To me, just this week we had new info on State of Decay 2. They announced the release date, and then IGN had this 25-minute footage and all that. All of that stuff could have easily been in
You're
this.
Right.
That would have made this amazing. I'm like, oh, that would have been a great thing. So like you're saying, what could they have added? And what took like later on thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, for was is okay. And they even said, hey, give us suggestions. It's the first show. So that's something people should definitely take advantage of. It seems Xbox needs to listen. That's how we are with Xbox, because all the feedback we've given them, how, oh, we don't like that. And they've kind of, kind of steered the ship a little bit, listening to our feedback. And they could do that for the show. They're like, oh, they wanted this. And
yes, but if they listen to our feedback, we don't like everything that they do. So what can they do?
That's the saying. Like me, I kind of like some of the stuff, but I'm like, yeah, it'd be kind of hard. Like I said, it's hard to please everyone. And being a monthly show, I mean, it'll be hard. You're not going to have a big announcement, like a huge thing coming out. But I mean, even like the little news. I mean, I think, like I said, for what it was, I think they're focusing month by month. So maybe, hey, Sea of Thieves is this month. Let's give a big thing. Far Cry 5, and then next month they'll do more State of Decay and get close to it. But I'm thinking, maybe because to deal with IGN and there's something with it, they could have, I don't know, worked out. But maybe this would have been a great show for that kind of thing. Hey, let's have first gameplay of State of Decay 2 at Inside Xbox. And that would have been like, a pretty big thing. And then, like I said, maybe next month or two, whenever they do it, then they could do the Crackdown thing whenever it gets close to that. But see, they could do stuff like that instead of having, announcement on Twitter before. It's just kind of one of those, like I said, missed opportunities in that aspect. They could have been pretty good with some news, but they didn't do it. And they had another site do it. So I'm like, wow, they could have, Well,
a couple things there. So IGN has a much bigger reach than Inside Xbox will ever have. I don't want to say anything crazy, but probably 20, 30, maybe as much as 50 times the reach of Inside Xbox.
True.
So it does make sense. I do agree that the timing on that IGN thing was a little weird because we're getting prepared for Sea of Thieves. So that was a little strange. But other than that, I understand why they went with IGN on that. Lethal, Papa, and Jazzy Noop have some great points in the chat. Lethal says, it was the first show. People expecting something is just crazy. Jazzy has been agreeing and also stating similar things as well. Yeah, I mean, if you drop a bomb in your first show, I've said this a couple of times, so some of you might have heard it, then they expect that every show. You got 12 of these a year. You cannot drop 12 bombs a year. So you can't set the expectation too high in your first show. You kind of got to ease into it. And I definitely think that's what they were going for here. Am I crazy? Boom and Moxie, what do you think?
No, let Moxie go because she hasn't talked about it yet.
So, and I'll go back to the beginning of what your questions were. I don't know that I had an expectation for it. I will say this. I caught little bits of a couple of podcasts that were like within a few days of it. And I definitely heard some predictions that I knew were way off, where people were saying like the Nintendo Direct thing, or saying it's going to be like E3, or saying like they're going to announce a new game. You got to look, it's a monthly show. It's called Inside Xbox, which sounds exactly like what it turned out to be. It's like the, the inside of like how the development works. And for me personally, I loved it because it's the things I like to see. Like Sony did a show like that recently too, where they sat down and they talked to the devs and they asked them the tough questions. And it was fabulous. Like, I feel like they catered to exactly what an audience that's the hardcore gamer, like anyone who would watch Inside Xbox is. But I have no idea why there were so many people that were, you had like a lot of big influencers that were setting this crazy expectation that this was going to be a huge show. There was definitely going to be all these new games dropped. It was going to be like Nintendo Direct. I don't know where any of that came from, because first of all, it's monthly, so that would be impossible to keep up with. Second of all, we're pretty close to E3. And third of all, there would be no reason that they would do that on like a small show. Like, it didn't, to me, none of that made sense. It sounded like the same thing as a lot of these things we're talking about, of just setting your expectation in some weird place, like not even setting your expectation too high, just setting it in a weird corner that can't possibly be met. And then coming back and being like, see, I told you that show was going to suck. And look, it did. Like, that's actually, after several Twitter conversations, how I felt. I was like, that you just set yourself up to be really disappointed, and now everybody's really disappointed in it. And I'm over here like, no, it was exactly what I thought it should be. You got people like tweeting at Phil saying, hey, you should make it 30 minutes shorter. And I'm like, oh, some of us want to watch a 2-hour show where we talk to the devs.
That's not what that guy said. That guy on Twitter said that he wanted the show to be completely scrapped from what it is and to be exactly 30 minutes like Nintendo Direct. Yes.
Oh my God, that's even worse. That show was perfect. And I do have I have a sort of off topic, but sort of really on topic note to make. Development, like game development, is really, really hard. Like, it's the hardest career you could possibly pick. I own a company, I work my butt off, and any given game developer, head of studio, makes me look like my work is a joke. And I'm not kidding. Like, they work so hard. They put in the longest weeks, especially when they start getting to crunch time. Like, if you listen to any interview with any dev ever, they will tell you it's a labor of love, and you can't do it unless you love it so much that you're willing to sacrifice basically everything else for it. Like, it's the hardest thing that there is. And hearing from those people, like, what was your inspiration? What should we do in your game? What should we expect to see? Like, that's exactly what I would want to see. Those are the things we need to see so that we can appreciate the developers, appreciate the games, understand the games from the perspective of the teams that came up with them. Like, that was, to me, that was perfect. I didn't have an expectation like a lot of these people did. And even if I tried to have that expectation, I couldn't have. I would have thought it would be similar to what it was, but I thought they nailed it. I think a 2-hour, like, inside Xbox, they called it exactly what it is. And I think a 2-hour deep dive into that kind of stuff, featuring whatever's kind of like about to come out, is perfect because it's catering to people who care a lot about gaming, you know?
Yeah, and I'll throw to Boom here, and Easy, if you have something, please throw it in as well. But you know, I said to that guy, he didn't ever respond to me. I said, so you want them to have? They already have a weekly show that does, you know, it's like 7 to 10 minutes long, and they just announce little things or whatever. So you want a short weekly show, and you want a short monthly show as well? You want them to give you less content over time? This is crazy. Like the talk of asking to be pay or having to pay more for some of these games that they're announcing. It's the same type of mentality, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense to Moxie. Boom. Does that make sense to you? How does that work?
No, I don't think that you should immediately. First of all, you can't do a weekly and the monthly and then add this. That would be too much, because then you'd run out of content for sure. But again, my own personal expectations were a little higher. I expected, because it was a premiere show, that they were going to show us something that we didn't expect. And I think that most people would have been very excited to finally get a release date for Crackdown, and that didn't happen. So that's fine. I get it. But I wasn't expecting them to unveil their plans for Gears 5 or, you know, the Perfect Dark reboot. I didn't have it. I know there were some people that thought that, which is ridiculous, but I expected at least. I mean, listen, if you didn't want to give us a Crackdown date, you could have given us Ashen. You could have given us Below. I mean, there are plenty of games that they have showed for many, many years where you could have put in there as an unexpected, you know, surprise. And that's the thing. There were no surprises, you know. I mean, and I'm not saying that they need to be like a Sony or they need to be like a Nintendo, but for a premiere show where you want people to tune in, you kind of needed something to grab them, to have them come back. I'm going to watch it because I'm an Xbox fan, but I'm not excited for episode 2 whenever that releases, because if it's going to be like episode 1, I'm going to be bored to tears.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I went in with like little expectation because I wanted to say, what is this going to be about? So I know what to expect. And this will be one of those, like I said, it reminded me of those E3 shows where they just sit around and talk and do that, where I'm like, okay, I'll just go to work and listen to this while I'm working. So I have something, you know, kind of be informed and whatnot and see what I like, which I think is pretty good. But I think pretty much overall it's just depends on your level of expectation relates to what you thought of the show. Yeah, if you went in thinking, oh, they're going to have like Gears 5 or Halo 6 drop or some big thing, then yeah, you'll be think the show sucked. But 'cause I think even Phil Spencer maybe made a tweet to someone. It was like, yeah, we could have like maybe revealed something, and then they have to have something for E3. And I can see that if they revealed one of those things, and then E3 comes around, and then they don't have anything, then people are like, well, gosh, this sucks. I thought there'd be some big stuff on E3, but like, yeah, we just revealed that. But it's just one of those give and takes. And that's what I think. Hopefully, like in the future, let's say it's the first episode, they're doing it monthly. They'll kind of take feedback or maybe just tweak it here and there and see what people like. Because like I said, there's some things I liked about. Probably said feel a little neutral on it about. It's probably more positive just because the stuff they showed. I'm like, oh, for what it is, I liked, finding out in-depth info on Sea of Thieves and stuff that maybe you didn't even know you realized you wanted to know. Like I said, the instrument thing is like, that's really cool. I never knew they made it like that, which
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I never would have asked for it and never know I would like it, but I'm like, hey, this is kind of neat. And that's stuff like that. Hey, that's cool that you wouldn't find anywhere else. But like I said, yeah, I kind of see both sides of it. I'm kind of one of those, I didn't expect much. So I'm like, okay, but I do see why people wanted something because, first show, you want to get excited. And it's just the timing of, having Nintendo showing, Smash Brothers. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then
it just happened to be bad timing that Smash trailer ended up being, or whatever it was just a logo, right? And the reflection of somebody's eye from
it showed the addition of Inkling Boy and Girl added to the roster, and then they saw the 4 it burning in the eye, and then of course they showed Mario kind of in a silhouette and Link, and the people just went absolutely again. And I look, I know some of it is outrageous. I watched several reaction videos and they you know what, it's great to see a real fan get excited about announcements. You know what I'm saying? Like if you like a particular game and something comes out, listen, I mean, I remember when they announced Killer Instinct, I jumped out of my chair. Like Killer Instinct's one of my favorite fighting games of all time. When that was announced, that was coming out for a launch title for the Xbox One, I could have done somersaults down the hallway and not been enough, and I could have been more excited than that. So I get it, but again, listen, I'm going to tune in for the second one. I really hope that they do have a little bit more than what it was. Again, I don't want to see of the weekly show that we get. I don't want to see that. I want it to be a little bit faster paced, a little different, and have a little pizzazz. I mean, honestly, I think that Larry Herb, and this is coming from Mooch, and I agree with him, should stay behind the camera and let someone else run that show. Be the executive producer. He's already doing what he's doing on his, the weekly show. Let someone else host that show and bring in maybe some younger talent that is more, in tune with what the Xbox community wants to hear. But,
well, they do have 2 people that are a little bit younger. Anybody else have anything to say about that before we move on?
They should have dropped Xbox One sales numbers. I'm just playing.
Oh, Moxie's been wanting to go off on that. Don't get her started.
You didn't get me down that path. No way.
So we're about to go into the final topic here pretty soon, which is, we like to kind of do this as much as we can, have something that's kind of related to gaming, but not exactly gaming in and of itself. Before we do that, though, just a brief mention for Sea of Thieves. People are actually talking about it in the chat and how they're getting family members that never played games before to play Sea of Thieves and to get into gaming and get thinking, positively about the Xbox brand. So this game looks like it's really going to change some hearts and some minds. I really think Sea of Thieves is going to blow up and be incredible. And boom, we wanted to get you in there and play with us so much.
Yes, I know. You know what it is? The thing was, I played about 5 or 6 hours of it. I did some with friends, which was a blast, and I did some solo. I just didn't want to get oversaturated with it. Like I really kind of I want anime eyes. You understand what I'm saying? When I put on the game and I'm playing for the first time, like I want that wow factor. I didn't want to put too much time into the beta. I am going to say there's 2 things here. One, I could not be happier for Rare because this is going to be their stake in the ground that they're back. I don't know what they're going to do after this, but I can tell you that I've always been a Rare fan, and everyone thought that they were dead when they were doing the avatars, and here they come. They dropped this. Again, I know a lot of people want the mature themed and gritty graphics of Gears of War 4, Tomb Raider. You don't need that for every game. this particular game, it has that Disney-esque kind of feeling when you're playing it. Like, it's magical. You know what I'm saying? And I think that A, Rare is back, and B, this is going to be a gem in the crown for Microsoft. This is a home run before it's even launched, simply because of the player count during the beta and the amount of people that were streaming it on Twitch and the other services that are available. You know, Mixer was obviously big for it. So I think that this game is going to be absolutely titanic for not only Microsoft but for Rare.
Yeah, easy. What's your take on it? Not only are you a really good captain, you know a lot about it. You've been playing since the alpha, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think since about the third or fourth invite they had. So I've been playing like for the early runs before they even had sharks, and I don't want to go too far into it, but yeah. Well, I also could say that Sea of Thieves sucked so much of my time away from playing it. Yeah, it's like super fun. To like go along with Boom, to me it's like great because I think how much criticism Rare's gotten in the past because all kinds of stuff of the games have been up to par for what they're used to back in the Nintendo days and stuff like that. But to me, it's such a gem. They're definitely back, and you can tell they love doing what they're doing just from playing the game so much. But I've had a blast. Like I say, can't talk too much about the alpha, but I mean, like I said, playing so much, and I've kind of hesitant playing a lot of the betas because I'm like, okay, I'll hop in just to try the new stuff. I don't want to play too much because I feel I'm having a ball playing the game. But by the time the full game comes out, I probably played the game a year so far, honestly, since the alpha started. I've been playing the game off and on for a year and just seeing what all has been added. But I mean, it's crazy just to see how much content's in it now compared to back then. It's just how much is into the game. But yeah, to me, it's not really a game like it. It's something that I think is be a huge hit because I mean, there's not really just a pirate simulator kind of game like that where you can just get together with a crew. And literally every time I play the game, it's been a new experience, which it's hard to say that about really any game now. Just playing with you guys those couple of times, I'm like, you go in there and you get wrecked from certain stuff happening. And other times it's just amazing, the stuff you find, just the funny things that happen. Like it still cracks up. I had to record the video of like when the ship was flipped over. I'm like, what the heck? I've never seen this before. Just like, how do we do it? We were actually attempting to sell it. And it was laughing, just kind of, we're actually selling the ship. You just see it going through the ocean upside down. And then we actually sink it finally. But it's just, I want
to say that is on Moxie's VODs on Mixer. If we got
it's all recorded in a stream it's right at the beginning of the first stream that we recorded. It's in the VODs.
Yeah,
so if anybody wants to see us set sail in an upside down ship, it's in there.
Yes. But to me, I mean, I think the big thing is just I really trust just all the content I've read about Rare, what all they want to add into the game. Because I know that's one thing you hear or see some stuff or concern, so to speak, quote unquote, about people like, oh, it's where it won't be that much of the game because they played a beta. And it's like, you got to realize the beta is what it is. It's like a very small portion of the full game what they're going to add. So to me, I've had a ball just the basic mechanics. I love just going treasure hunting and finding that something about that. I guess just I've always loved scavenger hunt kind of stuff like that. So me, I'm like, I could do that all day and just the basic gameplay I've had fun with. So I can't imagine once they add all this content into it, just how much fun it'll be. But yeah, it's definitely a game I can see playing a lot. And like, it's just one of those, even people that may not be in the games as much may like doing it. I can see it's like trick. It's probably a good game for Xbox. I think it's a perfect game for Xbox because it fits with their just it's an ecosystem. It's just kind of how online community, and it's a different kind of game. It's kind of neat, like kind of going along with how you saw with Cuphead, where you see all this just attention to it. You're like, wow, that's really cool. You actually see like T-shirts made and it's kind of pop culture stuff, how people love it. I see this. It's so cool seeing like I said, I wasn't expecting when it started the beta where you see #1 on Twitch and Mixer, and it seems like every time they've done it, people have been interested in it. I was like, wow. That's when I realized, they got a big hit on their hands potentially because it's so cool just to see the interest in the game. And I could definitely, playing it. And like I said, no game's for everyone. Sadly, it's not what I can see people hating it. That's just how it goes. You won't enjoy it. Not everyone will enjoy it, but to me,
actually, your boy Watchtower bot that we were playing with the other day, he's a shooter-only guy. All he likes is Call of Duty and Gears, And that's pretty
and
much
he
it.
got hooked.
Oh, awesome. See,
Yeah.
that's what
A lot of people do like it that you wouldn't think would like it. It's crazy. And on that note, I'm going to mention, because there's a lot of discussion going on in chat. We played several times in the last few betas, but when the game actually launches in a week, we'll be playing a ton, and most likely I'll be streaming it a ton. And we love to get new people together. Like, the fun of Sea of Thieves is like getting as many people as we can. And like, we've gone up to, I want to say 6 ships in a party.
Yes.
Where we've all been hanging out in the same stream. Some of us were in the same server, so we found each other and made a fleet, and then picked up some random pirates. And then some people were in a different server, but they were still in the party with us. So anybody who's interested in joining in some Sea of Thieves fun and joining into the stream, be watching for the tweets. I always try to tweet it out a little while ahead of when we play and when we stream, and we would love to have anybody join. I'm probably streaming some Gears up until the release of Sea of Thieves, and then I'm probably streaming Sea of Thieves quite a lot once it comes out. And we're always looking for new people. We've been playing with a lot of people, Easy E being one of them. And it's a lot of fun. Like, every time we play, it's a completely different experience, which is the whole Rare feel, and it's the whole design of the game. So anybody that wants to join us, just add us on Xbox Live. That's why my computer's going off right now. I just put my gamer tag in the chat, but it's MoxieBot on Xbox Live. Add me. Our party's always joinable when we're streaming, and come sail with us.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds good. Let's go ahead and wrap up the gaming portion, go into our final topic. So this is a pretty cool one. By the way, you can find us all here in the description of the video. And then also, easy, if you want people to be able to find you or follow you on Twitter, go ahead and let them know what your handle is. Yeah,
let me just make sure it's right, because it's different name depending on where I am. But yeah, on Twitter, you can follow me on Easy E Man 77 all together. And Xbox Live, yes, it's just Easy E77. Feel free to add me. Like, so definitely play some Sea of Thieves, and just, I mean, I'm kind of like Boom. I have like hundreds and hundreds of games, so I'm sure I have. If you have a game I want to play it, I'll probably have it. So yeah, definitely enjoy playing. Yeah, and adding people. Yeah, I'm one of those. I love meeting new people. That's just to go on Sea of Thieves. One final point. It's one of those games that it's so amazing, just meeting random people. I've met so many new friends just playing on random crews and getting to meet people. I think this is one of those game that'll be great for social interaction, just the stuff, meeting people. And I love the instant where you do the one emote and it instantly pops up to add them as a friend. I think that's really cool they did that. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, just from playing the beta, I've already added, I don't know, like 7 or 8, 9 new friends just from the few hours that I've been on there. So that's crazy. At that rate, I'm going to have like 500 friends here pretty quickly once the game comes out.
Yeah, no. I can't even get it organized anymore. Yeah. But yeah, that's how you find me. So yeah.
Sounds good, man. I think a lot of people like what you had to say. You've been great tonight. So
yeah, man, really good work, dude. You knocked it out of the park.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's only my second podcast ever, so I was like, hopefully I did pretty well.
Yeah, definitely.
Last topic here, Marvel movies and TV.
Yes.
All right. So this is one that Boomstick and I and Moxie have been talking about for like 3 months since we first decided to do this. So we have kind of an interesting mix of people here, so we can really have a good discussion. So Easy and Mr. Boomstick are both very big Marvel guys, as far as I can tell. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
I
mean, if you look, I'm wearing a Spider-Man shirt right now. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, yes. Keeping with the theme, because you had Captain America last time, I believe it was.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I had a nice Batman I was going to wear, but you know what? I wanted to keep giving the Marvel love, so
Oh no, it's understandable. They are the ones that are killing it right now by far. Moxie and I think, I don't want to speak for you, Moxie. You tell me what you think. We're definitely fans in the sense that we've gone to see, I think, every movie, or at least I have, in the theaters. So they've given us a lot of money there, or we've given them a lot of money there. I've watched all of the Marvel shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Jessica Jones, everything that's been on Netflix, Daredevil, all of that stuff. So I've been keeping up with everything. I really loved the connected universe. That was my favorite part of it, which I feel like in Phase 3 they haven't really kept up. Moxie, I mean, what's your kind of viewpoint on that? Am I on the right track with you as well?
Yeah, I would say so. The last one really that I thought was really good, if I'm remembering my timelines right, because I'm horrible at that, was Ant-Man.
That was
Yes.
fantastic.
I haven't been impressed lately. I was very impressed with Justice League, and I did not think I was going to be because I'm really much more of a Marvel person. But the last time that Marvel impressed me was Ant-Man, which I'm hoping that the I forget the name of the one that's coming out next.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Infinity Gauntlet. I was like Infinity something. That one I'm really hoping impresses us because I have not sadly been impressed lately.
Yeah, we go ahead, Easy.
Oh, so no, I mean that's of course all y'all. I mean I'm a huge Marvel fan and I love all the movies, but I can see, I mean, just some not liking some of the movies because to me Ant-Man was amazing and it's such a surprise because I had no idea what to expect going in. And the only reason I knew it would probably be good because the same with Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember first seeing that preview. I'm like, what in the world is this? She got a talking raccoon and Shuri and wasn't sure, what it was about. And then it was just a massive hit and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, that came out of nowhere and I loved it. So I'm thinking, I figured the same with Ant-Man. And sure enough, I saw it. I'm like, this is super good. I mean, they've made it really entertaining. But to me, I've enjoyed all of them for different reasons. I mean, I know they do have the stigma of, having too much comedy. And it fits in some aspects and not. I like Thor Ragnarok, I thought was amazing.
That was fantastic. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
And it may have fit perfectly because the other Thor movies got, those are probably considered the most disappointing among, people. Yep. Even though I thought they were okay, but it was like a good turnaround for, Thor. But then just seeing Black Panther, I mean, that was like kind of opposite. It had some humor in it, but I didn't really, think, oh, this is hilarious all the time. It just had the right moments in it. But to me, it was a great movie. And that's why I need to go see it again. But talk about just the crazy success of Marvel. Oh my God. It's already passed $1 billion.
Yes.
Worldwide. I'm like, it's not even out a month. And it's just like killing the box office. It's insane how good that movie's doing.
Oh, yeah.
What stole the show for me was not even Black Panther. I mean, he was fantastic. I love the actor, but his sister.
Oh, yes.
She was a laugh riot through the entire film. And like I said, it's funny that the main character who was fantastic in his own right was upstaged by his sister, the actress that played his sister. She was, it was a very serious role. I thought that the cast of Black Panther was absolutely
they killed it.
Phenomenal. I mean, from top to bottom, I just think that, look, all I can say is as a Marvel fan, I've had a few, disappointments. Obviously the 2 Thor films were like, the first Thor 1 and 2, Iron Man 3, I didn't really care too much for. That was another one. And it made a lot of money, but I didn't care for it. But like in my top 5, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Ant-Man are right there. I just think that they are really, and Infinity Gauntlet really is going to bring, 10 years of films into one gigantic, fight. I just cannot wait until May 6th when it comes out.
And actually, it's gotten moved up a week.
Oh, now. That's right. That's right. The end of April now. Yes, you're right. You're awesome. They moved it up.
What is it? April 27th?
Yeah, I believe so.
How cool he actually has something move up for James instead of getting delayed.
That's awesome.
I'm like, pretty soon. I think the countdown was like 45 days now or something. I forget the countdown, but I'm like, man, it's coming up quick. Yeah, I can't wait because, that's just something crazy. Just think in general what Marvel has done. I think, this is like something just unprecedented how they've taken, 10 years ago, just like, hey, we're going to have a cinematic universe and have all these movies. I remember seeing Iron Man 2. And oh my God, they found Thor's hammer at the end, and then it goes to Thor. It all ties together, and then how they just kind of built. And Avengers 1 was huge. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're all together. And then you go and kind of go to Avengers 2, Civil War, Guardians. You have these separate things. It's just crazy. And this is what like the 18th movie Black Panther is. It's just how long they've done these movies and how they're still making huge critical successes, box office successes, and still good movies. It still has some freshness to it. There's still some like.
Oh yeah,
like Black Panther, like I said, Black Panther cast was amazing. Had probably one of the better villains in a Marvel movie in a while. It's like good motive. It's just really good acting. I just thought the world was amazing. The whole world of Wakanda was great. So just seeing that, like I said, kind of building up all those 10 years to the big Infinity War is happening. It's just what's going to happen. And just like I think Aver sent me some info today. They just had some more photos released of everything and. I'm just waiting for a second trailer, dadgummit. I'm like, we gotta have something extra.
Oh, it's coming. It's definitely coming. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like we've all been really closely paying attention to the movies. So how about the TV? What do you guys feel like on the TV side of things? Have you been watching all the Netflix shows and
Yes.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Mhm.
And what do you the TV think?
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is you know, I think it's kind of run its course. I don't know if it's going to get you know, canceled. You know, I would hate to see it get canceled. But I mean, there's, you know, it's like when they had Ghost Rider on, it was fantastic.
Mhm.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. That was really well done. I am going to say this though. You know, we talk about Marvel's success, you know, and we've all said, you know, how poorly DC has done certain films. I got to tell you, DC's TV series are absolutely. I look forward every week to each one of them. Supergirl, you know, Flash. You know, I mean, it's just you know, obviously Green Arrow, and then you have the Legends. I absolutely love them. My wife loves them. I just wish they could figure out, and this is WB I'm talking about, whatever they're doing right on TV, why can't they bring that onto the big screen? That's always been my biggest question. In regards to the Marvel movies on Netflix, I can't say that I've seen a series that I wasn't happy with, other than Iron Fist.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that.
Yeah.
Iron Fist?
Yeah.
That's the one you guys didn't like?
Yeah, I really just look. Here's the thing. It's all about the writing, and it all has a lot to do with the actor. It always seemed like the guy that was playing Danny Rand didn't want to be there. That really, I just
he's
thought
not
it was
the best actor. He's also in Game of Thrones, and he was a little stiff in that show as well.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, you know what? They're not going to do another lone series with him. They're going to team him up with Luke Cage in season 2, and they're going to be the heroes for hire. And I think he'll do better there with some backup.
Yeah, I agree.
You're absolutely right. But I mean, has everybody finished season 2 of Jessica Jones yet?
Yes, my wife and I powered through that on Saturday, man. It was just crazy.
You like it?
I still haven't yet, sadly. So don't spoil it for me. But yeah,
no. Zero spoilers. It wasn't as good as the first one. I thought Kilgrave was an incredible bad guy. I mean, he was just every time he came up on the screen, you want to punch the TV. I thought he was a fantastic bad guy. This season was good. It was not great.
That's what I've kind of heard too. Yeah.
I'll say that. I mean, it wasn't a letdown by any stretch of the truth, but it wasn't. It just did not meet the expectations of the first series.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard too. Like, me, like for like TV and stuff. Kind of going back, I know like Marvel's killing it in the movies, but that was one thing that DC was killing it in, was like the TV shows. And I remember back then they're like, you know, the fanboys, there's fanboy wars and everything, which is always fun. And they're like, well, at least DC can make good TV shows. And then of course Daredevil comes out, and they're like, okay, Marvel can make a good show too. It's pretty good. And to me, the Netflix shows are the ones I probably like the most. The TV ones, they're okay. Like I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is fine. And of course, Inhumans. I mean, it's sad because I like the Inhumans, the comics, but it's just like, I don't know what it is. That got bashed pretty bad. And apparently, I heard that the person that helped run Inhumans was the one that did Iron Fist on Netflix.
Oh, well, that's
So I'm like, please fire that guy and never have him make another thing, because those are the two disappointments to pretty much everyone. But like I said, I love Daredevil. It was like one of my top series, and Punisher.
Daredevil season 1 and 2 are great.
Yeah. And the Punisher show, I mean, God, that was so good. Like that was perfect casting for him. I mean, he was
John Bernthal,
so good. Yeah. And like I said, I love, and Jessica Jones, like I said, Kilgrave. That's the one thing, here, like some criticism from Marvel too in the movies, like besides Loki and I guess a couple others, like the villains haven't been as strong or as good.
Yes.
But like the Netflix, you're like when Kingpin, and then you had with Kilgrave. I mean, they were like amazing villains in the TV show. So it's kind of like, why can't they translate some of that? And I'm sure they will. Of course, with Thanos coming out, I mean, it should be epic, especially
And there's also a rumor that Red Skull's going to return as well. So
I would like to see that.
I heard that.
Yeah. So
I think that would be interesting, because if you remember at the end of Captain America, the first Avenger, Red Skull has the Tesseract.
Yes.
And he gets beamed off into space, and it drops there. And so we never seen him again. That's very weird. That happened in what year was that? 2009? 2010?
Something like that. It's been a while back. Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely think they need more strong villains that can reoccur. And I felt like Loki was the one. He was the best villain so far. But in Thor, I kind of felt like they kind of neutered Loki a little bit. They kind of made him, he's now teamed up with his brother, so he's not really fighting against him. I think they can correct that in the Infinity War.
And they will. I believe they're going to fix that in the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, yes. you guys seen the preview, like he's handing over, looks like the Tesseract probably to Thanos, so it's probably like his way to kind of make amends, so to speak, like, hey, I'll join you, like, don't kill me if I give you this or whatever. But I was reading some info today, and that's what makes me super excited, because I'm a massive Funko Pop collector, and I know they kind of mentioned something about this before, but they just had the Infinity War series come out with Pops, and I noticed on some of them, like, oh, I haven't seen these in the preview and heard much about them, but they apparently have the Black Order coming as well. So it's kind of like Thanos's. I think there'll be the children of Thanos, but it's like his right hand man. So you're gonna have Cold Obsidian, which is the Black Dwarf. I think instead of being the Black Dwarf, he's gonna be Cold Obsidian in the movie. But you're gonna have Proxima Midnight. You're gonna have Ebony Maw, Corvus Glaive. So I'm like, it's gonna be pretty cool. So it's not just Thanos. It's gonna have like his team of Avengers, so to speak. So I'm like, that's gonna be pretty cool having like you're gonna have like an evil team, not just one villain. So
right. And they did confirm. Cool. They did confirm again. This is directly from Kevin Feige. Someone's dying and not coming back.
Yeah,
that's confirmed, and it's going to happen in this movie coming up. So
that should be interesting.
It definitely should for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, what about you, Moxie? What are your favorite Marvel movies?
I listed them out recently. I liked Infinity Wars. I liked Ant-Man.
You mean you're talking about the Avengers, like Age of Ultron, not the Infinity War hasn't come out yet.
The Avengers, yeah, that's the one where that's basically what's going on. But yeah, I'm really bad at movie names. I liked the original, like Iron Man. I can't remember exactly which one was the best, and I like the original Captain America, but I feel like some of I honestly, unpopular opinion, hated the Thor movie. I thought it was really, really bad. And several that like kind of came out in that time period, like they kept trying to make it not what Marvel is, And so the older it goes, the better it is. Like I'd never used to be a DC fan. The newest, I guess they just called it Justice League. The newest DC movie was amazing.
Yeah.
And it kind of rivaled like the Avengers, but the new stuff has just been, I hope that is it Infinity Gauntlet? Is that what you said? Or is it Infinity Wars? Is the new
Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah.
Infinity Gauntlet is the story from the comic. The Infinity War is the name of
the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Avengers.
I really hope they get that one right. Because every time that they have them all together, like they should nail it, but I got a little bit freaked out with Civil War. Really kind of scared me on the fact that maybe it's not always so great every time they get them all together. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But
because the same director that did Civil War and Winter Soldier is doing Infinity War.
Winter Soldier, I loved
Winter Soldier, and I hated Civil War. So I
know most people like Civil War, and I think the reason why a lot of people love it is that middle of the film airport scene where they have Spider-Man and Ant-Man. Seeing them interact was that made the film very enjoyable. But I think if you take that scene out of it, it's not the strongest movie. The villain was very weak. You can take the villain out completely, and you pretty much have the same storyline. I did not like what they did with Iron Man, and him complaining about Bucky having killed his mom and that whole element. Terrible. To me, that felt forced.
Terrible.
I think if you're going to have that type of thing happen, you got to plant that seed really firmly in the past and have it build up over time. And it came out of nowhere for me. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, that just came out of nowhere.
Nope,
that was not a storyline, right?
You're all wrong. I'm just playing. I don't know. But I love that. Like, I agree. Like, if it seemed like they probably didn't think that far ahead, so they wouldn't put it in the movie. But me, I thought he was a good villain because he, of course, didn't have good superpowers like you're expecting an epic villain. But he pretty much did his job. He split up, the team and got them to fight each other. So it's kind of like he did what he was supposed to do. And like just kind of conniving and figuring that out. So it was like he was one of those more subtle villains that, it seemed like if he went in the movie, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But his behind the scenes stuff, setting it up, is what made it so good. But I liked, because I liked it. Was like when I saw that in the movie, I was like, oh wow, like I didn't expect, like Bucky's the one that freaking killed Iron Man's parents. So I was like, I could see why he got mad, and then of course it made it more serious because you think Civil War is more the airpoint scene. And the funny thing is, I've heard the opposite. Like people thought that was kind of shoehorned in, just like, hey, let's have them where they're together and fighting. But the real story is, because when you hear Captain America, it's like supposed to be a Captain America movie, which I think they really did. It still was focused on his storyline and all that, even though he had a lot of characters in there. It felt like an Avengers movie in a way when it was really Captain America movie. But
yeah, you're right.
So,
what I need? I need more Ant-Man. If they can somehow shoehorn him into everything going forward, you're gonna make me happy there. I
can't wait for that. Yeah, that new movie I can't wait for. The Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's going to be looks really good.
Yeah. Big fan of the person that's playing the Wasp. She was in Lost. I know Moxie's not a fan of her though, so.
Not my favorite actress. I will say she had that role pretty well done. And then Paul Rudd is perfect in the Ant-Man role. So I hope that they can intermix that, because I think some of their bigger characters are getting a little tired. Iron Man in particular, I always forget the name of that actor. Is it Robert Downey Jr.?
It is.
Yeah.
He's getting tired of the Iron Man role, kind of. So
I don't
some
know.
of those newer characters.
In the interviews, he seems to like it a lot. I don't know if it is or not.
It might be the directing. I don't know. But something about a couple of those characters is getting a little bit tired.
Well, it's sort of flip flop a little, because I know I've heard about like all the actors are kind of tired of it, but then I've actually heard Robert Downey Jr. said he would like to do more. I think when you see the money they're making, they're like, I could do some more of this when you're making billions of dollars probably. It's insane how much they make, but that's why I think this Infinity Wars would be so good, because this is a perfect way. I can see the people whose contracts are ending and maybe tired of it, they'll get killed in Infinity War because, hey, what a better way to go out. Like I have a feeling it's gonna be like either Iron Man, Captain America, maybe Thor, or one of those, and one of the big characters is going to die, which is going to suck. And a lot of people don't want to think about it because you've gone 10 years used to seeing it, but I'm like, that has to end eventually.
It's got to be Captain America that dies, but I would prefer it if it was Thor. He's the one I'm not a big fan of.
That would be okay. That would be
all right. No, they'll probably end up being Hawkeye or something, which I would hate that, because I don't think they've ever purposely done him, because he's a good character, but he's always felt like a minor behind the scenes. But I don't know. We'll see.
They are going to give him his suit from the comics, though. His suit's definitely changing.
Finally, that's awesome. Yeah, because I was like, I missed that from the movies, but and almost like a flip side. We're talking about how great Marvel is. It's kind of like the opposite, like how DC is doing. Because the sad thing is, like you're talking about Justice League, there's not another movie scheduled until like Christmas time with Aquaman. It's like almost a whole year or more than a year.
Christmas time this year is Aquaman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Well, they had to do some restructuring here at the beginning of the year to try to figure out what's coming next. And there was a lot of different controversies that have happened there. So that's the reason why things are kind of up in the air at the moment. But I mean, actually recently, I hate to say this, and I know Moxie kind of mentioned this earlier. I went back and I watched all the DC movies except for Suicide Squad. I watched them all in chronological order, basically when they happen. So you start with Wonder Woman, and then you go to, I believe it's Man of Steel is next. And then you watch Batman v Superman, and then you watch the Ultimate Edition of that, by the way, the extended version, much better than the theatrical version. And then you finish it with Justice League. It actually really hit me really a lot better this time. I liked it quite a bit more than when I saw those films in the theater. And it worked really well to like kind of just slam them one after the other, one night after the other. So, I mean, I'd recommend people that are thinking they're not that great to do that. Watch those 4 films in a row, and it might appeal to you on a level that it hasn't before. I love Justice League. I really like that movie. I've watched it 3 times now. I watched it by myself the other night at 3 a.m. and I really like what they did with that film.
That film was amazing, and I think they tied back some stuff from the others, is why you can go back and get a better experience out of the other ones. Like they wrapped it all up together.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and I like the way that they did the score. I believe it was Danny Elfman. He actually brought in the score.
Nice.
The original Superman movies, the Richard Donner Superman movies from like the 80s, and then the Tim Burton Batman movies. He actually worked in some of the score from those 2 films. So if you're kind of have a really good ear for that stuff, you can hear it. That stuff was cool. Boom and I talked about it online. The ending cut scenes that they did, after credit scenes, those were really cool. So they left me excited for that type of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and end it, but I just we'll leave it on a positive note. I tried so hard to get into Supergirl. People in the chat were saying it was great. I could not get past season 1. You guys said that the DC shows are great. Sell me on Supergirl. How do I get back into this show? I got like 9 episodes in, and I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I haven't really been big on it either, but I think, because I know the first season, I think CBS, and they moved over to CW.
Yes.
So I'm hoping it got better, and I trust it did, because I haven't seen it since it's been CW, but I've heard that, it's better now. So that's probably one thing. Like, it was on another network, and they moved it, and maybe that helped improve it a good bit. So
it definitely got better once it came to the CW. There's no doubt about it. It's not night and day difference, but I would say that you have an idea of how she got her powers. Start with season 2, when they moved it over to the WB, because my wife and I, we absolutely love it. I think she's a fantastic Supergirl. I like the inclusion of Superman. I like the Martian Manhunter character. I just think it's fantastic. I think you should try giving it another shot.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of shout outs to do. And honestly, like, shout out to the chat just in general. I know a lot of folks leave during our movie or TV segment, so they're not here. But shout out to the chat in general. We do have a really awesome chat, and I appreciate everybody that shows up. I would shout out a lot of people. Trust me, there's a lot of individuals I could shout out. So I'm just going to do like a few. I have a couple shout outs to the people that have been watching my streams, because I'm not that good of a streamer. But Solid Evolution, Jazzy Noop, and Eric the Red, and I might be forgetting a couple of people, have been like seriously turning out to watch me. Donnie Skills is another one who's also been in chat all night. They have like legit used up their time to watch my terrible streams of Sea of Thieves. So shout out to them for that. I will be doing tons more of that. I don't expect my viewership to necessarily increase a whole bunch, but I am serious in people joining us and stuff like that. Shout out to James176, who was the first person to say he would be here tonight watching us.
Nice.
And then also to Lethal Papa, who's been saying for a couple of days that he would be in our chat, turned up. He's always awesome in our chat.
He's awesome.
He's almost like a mod in our chat, not exactly, but he's like a really awesome presence. And then speaking of mods, shout out to Daz, who shows up after his own show and mods our show. So we appreciate that as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. We can definitely make Lethal a mod if he wants to do that. He definitely can. And thank you again, Daz, for showing up. Glad to be able to get these different shows here all on the same night. We're trying to, accommodate all of that. Thanks to the chat. Been an amazing chat. I couldn't keep up with it because they're all coming in at the hot topics. And so it's hard to be able to rattle those off. And I wanted to read a lot more of those. If you guys could give it a like if you can, because that really helps with the algorithm that Google has, as we all know that, as YouTube has, and share it. And if you really like it, if you really like some of the things that you heard, share it in the next few days as new people come in and see it. Twitter, whatever social media you like, that really helps the channel grow. We ended up hitting a milestone for our first video that I think the three of us, I don't know about Boom, but I think we all agreed that we didn't think we were going to hit 1,000 views on that first video.
Yeah, absolutely. It was completely shocking.
Yeah, it's shocking because a lot of podcasts out there are only getting 200, 150. Some are even getting around 100 out there. And it's hard because there's so many. There's tons of them now. And so people can only fit in a few a week. And so they pick and choose what they're gonna watch. And I totally understand it because I'm going through the same thing right now. So thank you guys for doing that. Hitting that milestone. We always wanted to do like giveaways and stuff in the future. So we're going to do one here pretty soon. As soon as we get it together, we're going to use one of those services. Jay was in the chat earlier. He can tell me, hopefully, in the chat or elsewhere, which one to use. They have Gleam. They have the Tweet Draw. They have a bunch of different ones like that. We'll figure it out. We already have stuff to give away. But if you guys would like it, let us know in the chat. Stuff like the State of Decay, the maybe not the collector's edition because that's a little too hotly debated, but the ultimate edition, the digital download, that's something we can easily.
That would actually be hilarious, though.
Yeah.
Someone could actually show up and wear the mask.
Yeah,
we could give away the zombie head in one giveaway and then a mannequin head for it in another.
Perfect.
Well, I was thinking digital. That's really funny, but I was thinking digital because that's easy to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, you just
that's easy to
email
get
that
to the person.
Right.
Yes,
you just email that. Yeah.
UK Daz says not Tweet Draw, so apparently
and
that's
then
not
Jay
the best
said,
one.
Gleam.
Say again.
Right after that, Jay said Gleam.
Gleam seems to be the one that people like the most, so that's probably what we'll do. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything. Does anyone want to say anything before we go?
No, I just want to do a big thank you for Easy E for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Once again, the chat was completely on fire as usual. Considering it's only our second episode, we are really taken aback on how well the community has come out for us, and we cannot thank you enough for that.
I agree. And yeah, it's just thanks to all y'all for having me on. I mean, this has been a blast. I'd love to be able to do this again. And thanks, like I said, to the chat for coming out and hearing me ramble a little bit and just supporting us. It means a lot to everyone. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I love doing this. So yeah, it's been great. I appreciate it.
Find Easy on Twitter.
Yes.
We'll put the handle in the description, but he's a lot of fun on Twitter. So definitely go follow him if you don't.
Yes, I try. Yeah, Easy E Man 77, and like I said, yeah, add me on Xbox Live for sure. Easy E77. Love the game with you all, and yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah,
I'm an easygoing guy. That's why I guess I'm called Easy because I'm so easygoing.
You know, I thought it was because you were a big NWA fan. Is that not a fact?
No, it's actually just a random nickname I got in high school, and I was just kind of stuck. They call me Easy E, and then it's just stuck with me. It's probably more laziness. Like because I created my Xbox so long ago, it's just named Easy E, and 77 is my favorite number. Most people are like, is that the year you were born? I'm like, no, it's just a random number.
I warned that it was because there were 76 other Easy E's, and they all failed. But you
could be exactly. Yeah, it's like the suggested name for Xbox, like, oh, the Easy E76 is taken. How about 77? Yeah, it's been good.
I wonder if that's ever happened before. If somebody ever tried every number and just settled on the youngest one that worked.
Yeah, and that's the thing why it's like not easy, because I prefer Easy E77, but sadly, like Twitter and some others is taken. So I figured Easy E Man is kind of E Man and Easy E put together, but a lot of people end up reading it Easy Man. I'm like, whatever. I know who you're talking about. So.
All right, so we'll get out of here. Moxie did mention that she's going to be. Are you streaming or are you just playing Gears Horde? Which is it?
I'm probably streaming Gears Horde tonight, but I'm definitely playing Gears Horde tonight.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll get on there. Whenever Sea of Thieves comes out, we would love to have you guys play with us. That'll be awesome. What we do is we split up into groups, and then we see if we can meet up together with our ships. That and alone is a lot of fun. Not even talking about all the other hijinks that go on. So definitely add us, MoxieBot, on Xbox Live.
Join our party.
Mine is BuffyBot if you want to add me as well. Thanks so much, guys. You've been awesome, and we will see you here hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Thanks again. Good night.
Good night, everyone.